to Weekend Movie Bros, where I am one half of Weekend Movie Bro, that is the other half. I'm Jacob, he's Idiot.
Hi. Oh, I'm Ray. Hi.
Do you have anybody else to introduce?
That's Magic Mike.
Thank you, I felt weird.
Right now it's a part of the show. Now you feel weird if it doesn't happen.
Welcome to Season 6, crazy enough, of the Weekend Movie Bros podcast.
You got updated. I got glasses.
I also have glasses, I'm just not wearing them. You know, for no reason except I didn't want to. And today we are going to be covering, so let's briefly talk about the podcast in case you've never been here before, because we could have new viewers because it is the new year and things. Do you want to do the spiel for the podcast, Zachary?
Hello, we are Weekend Movie Bros. We are two brothers that love film, television, and everything in between. And on this show, we talk about the most important stories that go on in the world of Hollywood a month in advance and a month afterwards, depending on your time of day. And
Yeah.
we do reviews, we do stories, we do commentaries, we do all the fun stuff around here. So thanks for joining us if this is your first time being here. We are again your hosts, Jacob, Ray, and Magic Mike. If you don't know what that is, come watch the visual version of the show.
That is
We
very
also do
true.
have a audio version of the show for all your major Spotify, Apple Music, podcast, yada yada yada.
I
We
actually think we're
also
on like 26 different services. So if you
there
have
you
a
go.
podcast service, I'm pretty sure it works somewhere
We're
on
there.
there.
And for you special audio people out there that we love so much, you get all the exclusive award season coverage. We just put out our Oscar video or Oscar audio special where we talk about all the nominations, and we'll be back in March for the review of the Oscars and how we did, ballots and stuff. Fun times. And
Yep.
at the beginning of the year, we kind of do a catch up. We do like a review segment. We catch up with all the shows that we missed over our break over the holiday, and then we go right into our first real big chunk of stories in podcast number 2. So jump in,
Yes.
relax, grab a bag of popcorn. Let's go.
That's also something very important to take note of. One,
Copyrighted.
we also have a YouTube channel where we do, like Zachary said, movie commentaries and stuff like that. In case you want to see the video, and in case you're just listening to audio, it's just called Weekend Movie Bros over on YouTube. Very easy to find, I promise. Uh, but I'd also like to mention that they are normally broken up into 2 segments. They're normally we try to keep them about 2 hours long. I feel like that's always a good pacing for a podcast. And normally it's not just like review heavy, but this is the beginning of 2024, and we have several things we didn't cover as we were in our break period of time. We came back for our final one, talked about our final movies and stuff at the end of last year, but we have several things to talk about that we couldn't talk about there. So we're going to talk about here. So if you want to see what all the stories we're going to be covering from January, because this is a month ahead or a month behind podcast, I guess. We cover everything that happened the month prior. You're watching it in February. Guess what? We're covering January. You're watching it in March, and so forth and so forth. So that's essentially what we're doing today. Yeah. All right. Zachary, my question to you, because we didn't really talk this through, do you want to talk about 2024 overall, what we're excited for, or do you want to go through the movies and reviews first and end with the 2024 excitement?
I figured we review and contemplate the past and then possibly see where the future may hold.
Cool. I'm into that. All right. Our first batch of reviews are coming from Disney. This could be your Disney Plus or the movies, i.e., just Disney Plus. Don't ask me; we're not reviewing the Marvels here. Okay.
Would you like to start with the stuff that we have both watched together, and then I can come in at the end and review the things that you have not watched or finished?
Yes, I moved it to the very bottom. Everything else I've seen part of, so I can talk in
We can
the
talk a little bit about
conversation
it, yeah.
for a little bit. These are also mostly all reviews, except for I'm not doing any my movie reviews, spoilerly details. All TV show reviews are full spoiler content and stuff like that.
I'm only going to spoil the things that we've seen in full together. I'm
Well,
not going to.
I will pull out if you want to talk. Like, I know things happen at the end of we'll start there. I know things happen at the end of this. I know it's not the first one, but it was the first thing I could think of. And I've only seen up to episode. Is there 6 episodes or 8 episodes, Amanda?
8. The last time we talked, you saw Jack Black.
Yeah. That's true. I've seen all the way up to Jack Black. Anything past that point? I think it's 2 episodes. I think we have left. We just haven't gone back to finish. At this point in time, that was several months ago. We'll see when we go back to finish. Really, just shows you the show in general. But yeah, so
Sure does.
let's. I think I probably have a much better impression of Mando season 3. So I'll start out with the happier stuff, and I can talk about some of my general thoughts and things. And Zach will probably take it away with more in-depth and angry, ranty, spoiler-y content, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to eat the fuck up. So get prepared. It's going to happen probably quite a bit as we go through this. So, all right, starting with Mando season 3. Obviously, this is the Mandalorian. This stars Pedro Pascal's voice.
There's another show got him for full.
No one's crying. He's not crying. He didn't get an Emmy for Mando. He also didn't get an Emmy for The Last of Us, but he got nominated. That's more than Disney could do.
That's the other thing. He got nominated.
With Mando season 3, I really enjoyed the little bit that we've seen. I've enjoyed the storytelling. I've enjoyed both Pedro Pascal's voice. I've also enjoyed the actual performance of Bo-Katan. I think she's doing a well done job. If the issue with Bo-Katan that I have though is she does not feel very like her character. I don't know, there's some choices that she's making that I don't particularly agree with. Obviously, this is all done by Dave Filoni, so he said, "Yes, this is the way to go." I mean, and Jon Favreau, but
it's incorrect. Filoni was mainly working on Ahsoka. Favreau was the main show lead and writer on season 3 of Mando.
Yeah, but I don't think
Favreau's idea.
I don't think Filoni wouldn't signed off on it if he didn't agree with the choices that were being made.
I don't know. You didn't watch the end of the season, Jacob. You don't know.
This is true. I don't know. I don't know at all. What I have seen, I know a lot of people thought it was a little too joke heavy, that they thought the gags were a bit much. That was a common thing. I mean, here's the thing. The reason why we didn't finish Mando is because of idiot sitting next to us. He told me that it sucked. He told me that it was like one of the worst Disney Plus shows he's seen. And which, good for him. That scared us. So we waited until it was all done to catch up. And we actually kind of loved it. We had zero expectations going in. I'm not the biggest Mandalorian fan. I thought Mando season 1 was just fine. I thought Mandalorian season 2 was a much big upgrade. But normally when you jump in quality that much, which is such a dramatic amount of quality that was jumped in between 2 seasons, the 3rd season normally is a bit of a lackluster. It's just what happens because you can't keep riding the high. There has to be the fall. And we all thought
when we talk about another season 2 later, I'm gonna look at you and go, yeah, from season 1 to season 2, it did get better significantly in every sense of the word.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Not the one underneath Mando, but the other one underneath Mando.
Yeah, no, see, I do agree. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But those ones, that's going to be more in-depth review just because of all the different story elements and things. We'll probably do a ranking game on that one to make it fun. Either way, we're getting distracted here. Yeah, so truly, the world of tangents, that is what we live in. If you don't like it, this is not your place to be, I promise you. Okay, back to what we were talking about. I liked it. I thought it was good. I liked the performances. I thought the action was pretty good. This is the most Mando, I think, that felt the most real to me. All of the sets, I know Zachary doesn't agree with that, but to me personally, it felt the most real and the most Star Wars heavy in my personal. I mean, Star Wars, maybe Mando season 2 starts the most Star Wars heavy, but I found those sets and those locations to look more fake, in my opinion, than this one. I feel like, especially like when they go to Mandalorian and things are those lines, I ate that shit up. Whatever, it's the same shit.
No, you call it Mandalorian. That's a person. Mandalorian is a place.
Well, I feel like it's pretty narcissistic of him just to be like, I'm the Mandalorian. Oh, so you just want to be named after a place, you idiot? Okay. No wonder they don't want you there on set. Because they don't. I mean,
no,
that's a whole other day. We have so many podcasts talking about that, so you could go find it elsewhere. So yeah, that's kind of where I end. I thought I didn't mind Jack Black. Lizzo was an interesting choice for sure. Will not disagree there, but I really like the story of the episode. I had such a fun time with the story. Yeah, it was a bit too kiddish for most people's liking. I get it, but like it kind of, I don't know. I'm enjoying the the zero stakes season of Mandalorian season 3 because that's what I would call it, a zero stakes season. I will also have to say the little bit that I've seen of the Darksaber in that storyline in particular, I think is the most frustrating and annoying, especially when it comes to adapting from source material. And because Star Wars, for the most part, likes to say that they're true to their lore, and for the most part, they somewhat are. I'm not going to say they fully are, but for a good portion of the time, you can be like, yeah, that it adds up. There's layers here.
Mm-hmm.
I I can't I don't know if Mando season 3 thought that was the way to go. Maybe they thought continuity, smootenity. It worked. The Fox universe, it didn't have any continuity, so maybe we'll go down that road. And it did not really work.
Here's my thing. One Star Wars show this past year really stuck with continuity and made the show feel all the more better.
We'll talk
One
about it.
show did not know what to do with its own continuity, so it threw it all over the place.
I do agree, and we'll talk about it because I have very like it's a very different game when we talk about a different show in the Star Wars universe. I thought Mando was good. I didn't think every Star Wars TV show that came out last year was good, and we'll discuss it. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I thought another one was pretty bad.
Or the exact opposite.
So Zachary, please take this conversation, add to it because I don't got anything else. I'm just talking to talk.
Okay, so here's my deal. Here's my biggest deal with both of these shows, both of them. The other one we're talking about is Ahsoka. Here's my biggest deal. When you look at Mandalorian season 1 and season 2, every time the credits roll, who are the first two names you see together? They are Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. My biggest issue with both Mando season 3 and yes, even Ahsoka season 1 that I love to death, they felt so separated from each other that the shows I think were ultimately hurt. Because here's the thing, Jon Favreau can direct the shit out of stuff. He really can. Filoni is just not there yet. And so on the Ahsoka side, I think the directors' choices were on a hindrance. Whereas I think on the lore and show side of Mando was hindered because Filoni wasn't there as attached to the show because he was working on Ahsoka. And so where I think Mando falls, Ahsoka rises, and where Ahsoka rises, Mando falls. So my biggest issue with Mandalorian season 3 is the lore part of it. They butcher the Darksaber so much in this season that it really makes me mad. Because within the Clone Wars, within Rebels, it's always been taught that you win the Darksaber in battle. You do not get randomly handed the thing because you just want to go, hey, there you go. Woohoo. No, there is a blood battle to see who gets the sword. It was between Maul and Paz Vizsla. It was between um, Vizsla and Sabine Wren in Rebels, and that's how we got the sword back. And then she gifted it to her mother because she was the Queen of Mandalore. It was her rightful thing to own. Her daughter won it back for her in battle. It meant more when it happened. How did it happen in Mandalorian season 3? Everybody got on one knee, and Din was like, here. And Bo Katan was like, yeah, we got it. And it's like nothing changed. It's still the sword in someone else's hand. It doesn't feel earned for Bo. And my other big issue with Bo Katan, where I think Bo Katan shined in season 2, was they did not overuse her. And I think with this season, I wasn't connected to Bo Katan because she felt, people are going to be hate when I say this, but listen to what I have to say. She felt very Luke Skywalker from Last Jedi. She sat on the throne, isolated, didn't want to deal with any shit, and was brought back into it not willingly. And by the end of it, she was forced to become the Bo Katan from the cartoon. That didn't feel like the Bo that we got at the beginning of the
Oh,
season to the
hold
end.
on. I am just gonna bow out so you can talk some ending spoilers for the final 2 episodes. It's okay. I'm gonna take
I
my hat.
I don't have
I'm
a
gonna.
lot to say about them.
That's
I'll
okay.
be quick. Um. Okay. Uh. Them killing off Paz, stupid idea. One of the best moments of the show because of how intense and epic it was. Okay. Um. But Paz being killed off. was really such a dumb mistake. I did not like it. But the true thing I hated the most was the ending. Them sitting on Mando and Grogu on their homestead on Tatooine and chilling, and that's how the season ended. This felt very lackluster.
Oh shit. I'm still here. You just can't hear me.
There
Oh,
you
you
go.
can't hear me. Yeah.
But overall, season three to me is a huge lackluster of a season. It builds to so much and doesn't do anything with what it wants to do. And now knowing the direction they're going right now with the characters of Mando and Grogu, it felt like everything they set up in this show for the Dave Filoni movie that's supposed to happen
We'll talk about it.
doesn't feel like shit anymore. Like it doesn't feel like they were building to anything. It just felt like they wanted to get to a certain place. And now they don't know what to do with it. Now on the other side, we're going to start positive, and then we'll go in Jacob's
Oh,
direction.
1 second. I can't fully talk about the other show as I've not seen. I think also, ironically, the final 2 episodes, but I saw enough to know what my somewhat thoughts and opinions on it is. So we'll talk about it. Uh, what would you rate it since you saw the whole thing?
Of Mando,
Yeah.
breaks my heart. It gets a solid 5, man. They really bailed. It felt like, again, like I said at the beginning of my review portion of this segment, it felt like with Filoni and Favreau split, it felt like the show's ideas and what they wanted to do on it was split. They didn't know exactly what they wanted to do, and it's a huge letdown. I think the show could have been a lot more than it was. About for what you've seen so far, how you feeling?
Um,
Where you at?
I'm gonna say it's probably like a 6,
Okay.
a 6 or 7. It's definitely not as good. It's not as good. Um,
Season two is a special piece of Star Wars content that we're never going to get again. So
yeah.
I just appreciate that fact, and that's just the case.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I don't think we will receive something out of those lines, because the thing that I thought, which we'll go ahead and jump over to, would be as special to me personally, wasn't. But Zachary, please the door away.
Oh, so as a Star Wars, Clone Wars, Rebels fan, this is where Filoni really wanted to put all of his eggs in, and you can clearly tell which one he had more fun doing last year over the two shows working on, and the lore and him making sure everything's still tied together to the events of Rebels season three at the end. I think is incredible. The performances in this show are really good. I think Rosario Dawson gets better as the show goes on, and she finds her footing with the character by the end. Um, oh no, what's his name? The one we tragically lost last year.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, I can't think of his name.
oh no.
Give me a second. I'll look up the
Thank,
cast list. Just
thank
continue
you.
going.
Um, but Balin, I do not know his, I forgot his name. But Balin is one of my favorite villains in Star Wars
Ray
because he's not a.
Stevenson.
Thank you. Ray Stevenson played him so well because he wasn't a villain. He had a means to an end and did not matter what side he was on to get to that point. I thought his apprentice was fantastic. This felt very Star Wars prequel stuff era, but done correctly. Um, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera, I thought was very good. They used her enough to where I don't feel like she was needed the entire series, but when she was there, it was really cool. Chopper, played by I won't say who, is fantastic as always. Chopper is one of the best droids in Star Wars, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise. Just the case. Um, Sabine, this is the big one. This is the one everybody talks about from the show, and I understand why. They give Sabine a lot of decisions in this show that some people just don't vibe with. I think they are human decisions. She would make these decisions because she's human. She has that invulnerability because she wants to find Ezra, so therefore she would make decisions about going about and possibly finding him. However, I say all that to say this. Ahsoka gave us one of the best episodes of Star Wars television in the past 2 years, and that would be episode 5. I don't know if my brother got to episode 5. He did.
Uh, do, 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 do.
Did you see episode 4?
Yes.
At the end of episode
Yes.
4, you know
Yeah,
who
yeah.
shows up.
Okay, I just have not seen 7 and 8.
So you've seen 5?
Yeah.
So we can talk about 5?
Yeah, I've seen 5 and 6.
So we can talk about 5?
Yes.
I wanted to make sure before I ruin anything.
Yes, I texted you while I watched that episode.
Episode 5 is one of the best pieces of Star Wars we've ever gotten. And the reason is because it gives Hayden Christensen the rightfully owed he deserved, because he is pitch perfect in this episode. Pitch perfect as Anakin. When they go back and they redo their first mission together from the Clone Wars in live action, I cried. I cried so hard because of how well it was done. And the way he acted around young Ahsoka, the way they incorporated it within the story, the fights, the transitions in this episode are just another level. When you see him walking away from her and it does the split shot to him and Vis Vader, it's one of the best shots of Star Wars. Par done. It's one of the coolest things in the world because it just lets you know the path that she is going on, where she is going with all this anger and this despite with everything that's happened to her since her return in Rebels. She is not a happy person, and she is going down the same exact path as her master, the exact same path. But Anakin wants to show her that she is not just him. She is her own person. She is the legacy that continues on, and it's so well done. The lightsaber fights are incredible. Captain Rex in live action. I mean, can you get any better? It just it felt like Filoni finally got to do his flowers for why the Clone Wars is so good and so important to Star Wars. And we never got that at all. And it's really cool to see. Seeing Thrawn finally for the first time. I was a little I wasn't a little. I was really let down by Thrawn. I thought Thrawn looked very good. I think aesthetically he looked nice, and he was Thrawn. They got Mads Mikkelsen's brother back to play Thrawn, and he was incredible in the role. He still is. But Thrawn is the smartest man alive. That's all I'm gonna say, because you haven't finished the show. He's the smartest
Oh,
man alive,
yeah,
and he
it's
makes
fine. You can go. You're good.
and
Just
he
one
makes
second.
okay.
1 second.
1 second, 1 second,
Oh, no, that's not right. Hit the wrong button. Sorry. All right, you're good to go. Go ahead and talk.
They the ending of the show leaves us with a cliffhanger with Sabine and Ahsoka stuck in the other space. And my biggest issue is how dumb some people are in Star Wars. When a zombie trooper shows up on your ship and you're all just looking at him going, I don't think we should fire. And then Chopper just goes up and pats him on the head and you go, oh, it's him. And you're like, I would have shot him on sight, but hey, that's just me. Um, but seeing Hayden again as a Force ghost, it felt more real for me. And I think what they're setting up for season 2 is very promising. I don't know how we're going to work with Balin, with Ray gone, because Balin is very important to the show, and so they need to get somebody as important to play the role. And I don't know who they're going to get, but I absolutely you can come back.
Okay. Here we go. All right, I'm back. I'm back, but not here, and I'm here.
I absolutely loved the show of Ahsoka. To me, Mando season 2, Ahsoka season 1, and Andor season 1 are the best 3 pieces of Star Wars content that Disney has put out since them getting the license for Star Wars. Um, I really do. I think Rogue One is the best film they've put out, but I think the 3 true best pieces of content they put out for Star Wars are those 3, because one hits the fantasy part of Star Wars, one hits the family part of Star Wars, and one hits the war part of Star Wars. And all 3 of them hit them all 3 beautifully, and it's something that I haven't seen in a long time. So go watch. If you have not watched Ahsoka, go watch Ahsoka. I highly recommend it. If you've never seen Clone Wars before, I think it catches you up to know what's going on within both Clone Wars and Rebels, and you're able to understand the characters very, very, very well. To me, also, it was the year of David Tennant. All hail Hugh Yang, one of the best droids in Star Wars, and Doctor. That's all. Jacob, you hated it. Why?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I want to put a few prefaces out there because I know a lot of people loved Ahsoka for a lot of reasons. Zachary just went on a 7-minute rant about how much he loved it, type of thing. Full spoilers. I'm a bit of indifferent. It wasn't the acting. Well, it wasn't all the acting because I think some of the acting here is quite poor. But I thought a lot of people did a good job. I like most of the cast already before going into it. I think the important thing here is I did not watch Rebels. I think I've officially now seen like season 1 and part of season 2 of Rebels, but I've never seen the whole thing. I'm not going to say I've seen the whole thing because I haven't. I tried, and I think there's parts of it that are really good, and there's parts of it that are really not. And so, like, it just kept pulling me in and out. Like, that's really what my experience with Rebels was. I think if I would have watched it when Zachary watched it as we grew up and things, I think I would have probably enjoyed it better. But I was so far out of Star Wars by that point when Rebels was premiering. And Ahsoka was not the selling point to Rebels. So Ahsoka pops up eventually in Rebels, and I've seen everything for her storyline for whatever the reason might be. But there's characters in here as Sabine or Hera or Ezra or anybody else who do pop up here that I just don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I like Mary Liz Winstead, so I like Hera. You know, I think she has a good presence, and I'm familiar with her character, but it was nothing blowing me away. Sabine, because I'm not familiar with Sabine, I thoroughly enjoyed what I was given. But from what I understand, I shouldn't. So that's an interesting little conundrum. I
I
thought the
disagree.
entire
I disagree with that. I think the fans are being way too harsh on the Sabine character for one specific moment. I think she nails the Sabine character from Rebels. So what you enjoyed is Sabine from the show. People just disagree with one movement she makes, but I think it's important for the show for her to make that one decision.
and then another very controversial take I'm about
Keep
to
going. I'm
spit.
getting my drink. Keep going.
It's a spitfire at you. I thought the Ezra Bridgers episode where we find him and the whole point of the show really was horrible. It was probably the worst hour of television I watched last year, actually. I had zero emotion. Zachary told me this is like one of his favorites. I was so excited. We'll get to the episodes that Zachary just went on a huge little thing about because I have a lot of qualms to talk about that one as well.
So sad.
And we'll
But
get to
again,
it. Two different people.
yeah.
Ahsoka is my favorite Star Wars character of all time. I have read countless amount of books, comic books. I have done so much more out of Star Wars for one character that like I feel some type of ownership, which is a very bad fan thing to say, but it's what I said. Okay, I agree, and I get it, and you can do your own interpretation. But Dave Filoni, who created her, is the one spearheading this, and I feel like Dave Filoni should never have called this Ahsoka. That's the issue. That is where I stand. Now, I've not finished it yet, so maybe the final 2 episodes really wrap her story up and do a good job. I don't know. But I'm not going to lie. I was so pissed off by the point I got to the end, and I was a little bit off. I think the final 2 episodes were just about to come out or something, and so I caught up too soon. If I wouldn't have caught up, like if I would have waited and watched them all, I would have probably finished it when I was watching it. But because I was in that in-between moment, and I was so mad, I just didn't care. I was like, it's okay. I can wait. And so I haven't finished it. Rosario Dawson is really well casted in the role of Ahsoka. I'm not saying that. And I'm a huge fan of Rosario Dawson. I love her. I've seen basically everything she's ever been in. I'll watch the shittiest shit. I just watched DMC the other week. That's 4 episodes. That's 4 hours of my life I'm never getting back.
Oh, the one on Max?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's truly awful.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
Yeah, watched all of it, the whole thing.
I'm sorry.
I like her. I'm gonna watch it. And so I was really excited, and I thought she did such an amazing job in Mando season 2, and the little bit of stuff she had with Book of Boba Fett. I thought both performances were good. The issue being here, I thought she was horrible here. I thought every movement was bad. I thought the fight choreography they gave her was bad. I don't know if she just needed more time with training. I'm not entirely sure
Yeah.
what the whole problem was, but it
The
wasn't.
lightsaber fights felt very slow.
Yes, very slow, very timed. It felt choreographed,
When you
which I
watch,
cannot say for the movies or anything. I feel like all those are done very flawlessly. I mean, it's nothing like animation, obviously,
no,
but this is some of the worst I've seen in live action.
no, well, like when you watch Ray and when you watch Hayden, they move really like Hayden especially. He knew exactly like the spin move that felt like Hayden from the movies. But then when you put him against Rosario, she just needed more time with saber training because clearly she just wasn't ready for the fights.
Yeah, because I thought like the fight before she goes into her little trance, I thought that was pretty good in the forest. I enjoyed that one. It was shorter, but I definitely, I mean, that was probably like my favorite episode. Was the episode right before episode 4. I would say is probably my favorite episode that I've watched so far. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that is episode 5. The episode that personally did make me cry. Okay, I will hold it. I just didn't like it.
Ooh, what part?
What, Zachary, I'm a sucker for a throwback, and also seeing baby Ahsoka, which is something not baby like obviously, but like little child Ahsoka is
Perfect
something.
casting, by the way, for young
It's
Ahsoka.
something I've been wanting in the Star Wars universe for such a long time. This character to be upgraded to the movies, to be a full-fledged character, such as like Anakin and things like that. The fact that she's never talked about, which has made sense. They have canonized the reasons why these events do happen, but it's so annoying because I love her so much, and so I was so excited, and none of that got spoiled for me. Like almost any of that episode didn't get spoiled for me, except for Hayden being there and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just felt like it was really poorly done. It's just what I felt. I was watching it unfold and it was 45 minutes, but it only took up 18. And I think that's the issue. Is that this episode is basically like you're watching something fleet before your eyes. You know they have the time to go fully and do it, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not willing to spend the time on it. Nothing in that episode, in my opinion. I cried because I was excited. I was like, oh my God, they're doing what I want. And then the tears slowly became welted because I was disappointed because they didn't wait anything out. Everything happened within 10 seconds of one another. Nothing lasted. This episode should have just been completely about Ahsoka's time in this realm that she's been in before. This period of life that this whole thing. That's where this episode should have laid. And the reason why I could not do that is because they have 9 other characters they have to go and continue on their stories with and do other things with. If this was an actual Ahsoka show describing her thoughts and feelings and how she is scared of turning out to be like her master, that would be a fascinating show. And I'm not saying you have to cut out Sabine or Hera because those are very important people too. What makes Ahsoka Ahsoka, especially as she got older, those are super detrimental characters to her. I'm just saying their presence. It didn't need to be like, oh, it's like part Ahsoka. Like I would say 1/4 of an Ahsoka show, the rest being this. But I do have a counter to that because it is my own argument. And that is the fact I do like the mixture of showing master upon master, showing her step up to become Sabine's master, and what that means, and what that takes on for her, and how
Mm-hmm.
that affects her, you know, and I'm curious to see how it finishes because of these things and because of some of the other storylines and stuff. But as a character study and as like something I was so excited for, I was thoroughly disappointed with the amount of Ahsoka time in Ahsoka TV show. It's just all I have to say. And that's me coming from someone who didn't really watch Rebels, who were not obsessed with these characters, who only watched the Clone Wars because I love the Clone Wars. I'm not bashing on the Clone Wars, I promise you. And I think Ahsoka as a character could hold her own TV show without the necessary help. And you could have did Rebel season 5 in season 2. I think if I would have just got one full season of focusing on her and then building up into this story that I found interesting, don't get me wrong, I just don't think I don't know. I also think it would have performed just a little bit better. It did really well, but it did really well with the cameo episodes. I think that's also very important. It wasn't their own standalone episodes. But then again, Ezra, in his defense, I will give Ezra this. He traded on Twitter for like 4 days after. So
Keep going.
he,
I have to let animal out.
yeah, you're fine. Um So yeah, so that's where I stand on Ahsoka season 1. So far, if I finish it, I'll tell you. I'll talk about what we've been watching. We won't do a part 2 of my thoughts and opinions here. Um, Zachary, as someone who has finished it and loved it, would be curious about your rating.
It gets it, I originally, because I was fresh off of it, it was a 5. Like, I absolutely love this show. Sitting on it for now, it's been since what, August is when it premiered, I believe. And so sitting it now since then, I'd give it a 4.7.
Now, I would like to mention, because we are doing the ratings a bit different here, is this out of 10 or out of 5? Because you rated Mando out of 10, so I just
Okay.
want to make sure that it
Out of
stays
so out of 10,
consistent.
it gets an 8. Out of 10, it
Okay.
gets an 8. Um I agree with you on certain things, I do, and certain things I don't, which is also understandable. And where I think the show really shined for me is where Mando lacked. Is that we got more time with Ahsoka in her own show for me than we did with Mando in his own show. Like, it felt like Mando was more focused on Bo and Grogu, whereas Ahsoka, well, yes, there are more characters in there. Ahsoka was still in every scene. Whereas I think Grogu and Bo got more time in Mando than Mando did.
I My only counter to that is there is an episode where Ahsoka only shows up for the last 2 minutes. That's all I'll say on that. But I do agree with you. I feel like the problem with Star Wars, especially as they have progressed, is that they are a bit more. They're too bloated,
Hmm.
and it is detrimental. I don't
That's
know
why I'm
how
there for
interesting
Ghostbusters.
it would be. I would say if they would have done, yeah, like for Ghostbusters, I'm really curious to see how they pull that off. Either way,
Hmm.
that's a different conversation for a different day. I'm really curious to see, like, I think I'd be more interested if this is like a single, like the final episode. They were introducing all these, they would introduce all these characters. You have like 6 episodes. Don't make it 8, because I don't think Ahsoka could probably handle 8 episodes. Do 5 episodes of an interesting storyline from Ahsoka, where it's like her as a central character, and then she ends up on the planet where going and tracking down Sabine for whatever the reason might be. Maybe where
Here,
the pilot began.
here, 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 here's a rebuttal for that. That's fine. You do 5 episodes with just Ahsoka, but then as a fan, of Ahsoka, which you are, which we both are, would you be disappointed then to get to the finale of her show and all of a sudden it's no longer about her? It's about all these characters they're introducing, and it
I
doesn't
don't
really affect the finale at all.
I think it depends on the story that they end up telling. I think there is a very good way. I'm not saying, to be honest, I don't know if I would trust Lucasfilm to do it. But if I would trust Lucasfilm to do it, I think there is a very solid way to do so, because you can spend the first, as they like to do, 10 minutes of an episode to finish out the storyline that we had just been following. Make episode 5 really be that big episode 9 from Game of Thrones that we all love. Yeah, that like, okay, episode 6 will be the conclusion, the epilogue. You know, episode 5, the story really ended there, but this is like the extra, like, oh, I'm so excited we get one more, even though it felt very conclusional. And that's where you introduce what season 2 will be about, which would be Rebels season 5, which is what which is what I don't know if that's exactly what this turned into, but it's basically kind of what this kind of turned into.
Here's my other thing I say about. I know we're talking a lot about this one because, but this is the one I think I've talked the most with you about. Besides you finishing it, is that, do you think the show would have done better if they would have just called it Star Wars Rebels on the Disney Plus logo? And do you think that would have held people enough or brought people in to watch the show? Or do you think them calling it Ahsoka was the reason it did so well because of her name? Because
Yeah,
for
I think it
me,
was the name recognition.
as a hardcore fan, I would have still watched it. But I think a more casual Star Wars fan would have looked at it and went, well, what's that? Why is it live action? And why is
I
she there?
I definitely don't think they should have called it Star Wars Rebels. I think we are in a time in Hollywood right now called the bait and switch. It is very rampant, and I would say Ahsoka is a casualty of that as well. Dave Filoni set out to do a goal, which is not a bad goal. I'm not saying that what he did was bad. I'm just saying, as a
Hmm.
fan of the character, it was disappointing. That's all.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have performed very well if it was called Rebels. especially if they had the same budget and they had like all the good things to make it live action for a Rebel season, season 5 or however they wanted to call it. I think using Ahsoka as a trade name here, having her on all the posters, being the top promoter, doing all those things, I think was the smart call. She's a lot more recognizable than anybody else in the show outside of like obviously Anakin. I don't know if anybody else makes a cameo. I don't want spoilers for that. Obviously, I have no idea. But at this point in time, I only know that Anakin is in here. And obviously, a lot of people knew who Thrawn was. He was like a big deal and things.
Mm-hmm.
When it was announced that was who was going to be, the villain. But also, like, I guess the only other thing is that in Mandalorian season 2, I make all these things, okay? And then I have to go backwards. And for doing continuity, it does make sense this is where her story is going because that's her whole
Mm-hmm.
entire point in Mandalorian season 2 is this. And you can't really do the rest of the story without bringing them in. I just wish I got 1 or 2 episodes that were not just about this. I don't know. Maybe you can have the 8 and then slowly bring in everybody else. I feel like dropping me into Rebel season 5 and Ahsoka season 1 without really the preparation, I guess. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like there's probably a better way to set it up. Is how I guess where I'm at.
I think Filoni's biggest issue with this show, for whether people liked it, didn't like it or not, is that he is solely relying on people who have seen 7 seasons. Actually, no, 7 plus 4, 11 seasons of a cartoon from all the way back in 2008. And that to me is his station on, you know who Ahsoka is. You watched 11 seasons of a cartoon before we got to this point. And so for him, it didn't feel like he had to jump in and do another, origin tale or get through her story again because we've already been there. We've seen her progression from being a child to where she is now. And we talked about this before the show came out. I think that's a huge detriment to the show because
Yeah.
people are now just coming into, like, for you, you found out about Ahsoka through Mando, and then from
Well, I mean,
Mando,
that's not
but
exactly
you
true.
felt, but you fell more in love with her as it went on.
I mean, I fell in love with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars movie back in 2007.
What I'm trying to get is that people knew
Most
Ahsoka
people,
from.
yes, yeah. I'm not the great. Like my mom, for instance, she had no idea who Ahsoka was as I was crying during her Mando season 2 episode. She was just like, "Oh, that's a green lady," type of thing, and that type of thing. So most people who are watching Ahsoka live action probably
Mhm.
only know her from her cameos in other Disney Plus live action Star Wars shows.
So what I'm trying, I understand where your disappointments are coming from. You wanted the Ahsoka show. I feel like you and I both got that already. We got that with the Clone Wars. Like we
No,
understood her story
nope.
through there.
See, if you're naming it Ahsoka, and she is not, I'm gonna say it. She is not the main character. At least 5, 6 episodes in, it's not an Ahsoka show.
Well, then what else do you call it?
I know I don't have a title for you. Once again, marketing is hard. That's the real. You know what? That's Star Wars' issue. Marketing is hard. Honestly, that's the issue in Hollywood right now. Marketing is hard.
Here, here's the biggest issue with Mando, with Ahsoka, with where it all is. I think everybody's just ready to move on. I think that's the biggest issue. I think everybody's just ready to move on to another era of Star Wars. I
I
think
am
Disney is. I think Lucasfilm is. I think we all are.
very, very excited. Speaking of Star Wars, I have it. Zachary played it as well. I played it. I didn't really love the game, but the ideas that were presented in Star Wars Jedi Survivor are
Mm-hmm.
things that should be moved into live action, which is why I'm very much more excited for like the Acolyte and
The
things like that.
Acolyte,
I'm very much more interested in that because of
because it's
those things.
new,
Yeah.
it's different, it's something that we've never seen before.
But I have also zero expectations for that. I had you can ask Zachary. I had the most highest. I mean, as the trailer started to come out, the Ahsoka season 1, my expectations did get lower and lower, just because I started to realize like really what the show was. But when it got announced in like 2021 or something like that, my expectations were through the roof. I was like skipping up and down joy. So I think that also plays like, there's a lot of factors to this. It's not a bad show. Still agree with Zachary. Go watch it if you haven't watched it before. There's enough good stuff in there for you to really like. I do agree. If you're a big fan of Ahsoka, just lower your expectations to the point that you think they should be at, because they should not be super high. I will have to mention the last episode I saw was her coming out of it, and that was the episode where she wasn't in it really at all. And at the end, I saw it in her eyes. I saw it in Rosario Dawson. I was like, okay, I think I see the character.
It's the
So
whale scene, huh?
it's the whale scene.
It's
So
beautiful.
one will have to say, maybe in 2 episodes when I do finish it, maybe I'll have a different opinion. Maybe the final 2 episodes will really change how I feel. Because that's also another thing. Is that Rosario Dawson just didn't feel like Ahsoka. She felt like she
That's
was
how I felt
playing.
for the first 5 episodes, and then episode 6 happened. And I was like, okay, I get it now.
She just felt like she was playing a character with green paint on, type of thing, or a different character in Star Wars. It
That's
didn't
why.
feel like the
that-
character that I love.
That's why I made the same comparison to Luke. Is that people feel like it was Mark Hamill in a costume in Episode
Yeah,
8 and not Luke Skywalker until you get to the end and he makes the Luke Skywalker thing. I think Rosario needed time to build him a character. They just didn't give her enough time to actually build the character until we got to it.
exactly. And so I say if they would have done this, they would
Rush.
have. Yeah, yeah, really. And I think that's
Disney
the issue.
Plus. The Rush.
It's it's very rushed, and I feel like if we had gotten the first 2 episodes or whatever for her to fully feel like the character, and if that is doing backstory, I'm fine with young Ahsoka being the pilot episode of this and showing where how she got to where she is. Because here's the thing, Zachary's right. Who watched? I mean, outside of the hardcore fans or people who grew up on those shows, watching them because they're animated and it's Star Wars and it's cool because you're a child. Not saying that animation is for children, but you get my point here in this conversation. Who watched 11 seasons of character growth for a character that most people only got introduced in Mando season 2?
No more
It,
than like what now? Almost 4 years ago?
yeah,
5 years ago now?
it's just my. I don't know. I feel like they should have probably done a backstory episode, as much as it probably pissed off Dave Filoni. If I had to give him any notes as an exec, I would have been like, "You're starting at the wrong point. You're starting too late in her story. You can go there, episode like 2 or episode. Maybe the first episode is just a big recap. I mean, we're going to talk about something that did a big. Well, you know what, Zachary? How about you go ahead and jump over there?
Okay. So
Because
this
this, for instance,
uh-huh.
sorry, I don't have anything to add. I've not seen this. This is mostly just Zachary. So my little thing to add as a bridge here between the two shows, this did what I think Ahsoka should do, from what I understand. Once again,
It it did, but to
asterisk,
the show's own detriment.
which he can talk about. I have no idea. I have no opinion. But using this as the example, it decided, okay, we're going to fully fledged tell you who Echo is before actually jumping into what this story is. And I wonder if Ahsoka should have done that, and maybe it would be to her detriment as well. All right, Zachary, I'm gonna just click on the next story when you're
Oh,
done.
I'm not gonna spoil. I'm not doing spoilers.
I don't want to know anything. You're all good. You can chat. I'm good. I promise you. I want to go in blind. I will watch it. I'm very excited. I just don't know when. We'll figure it out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my review of Echo Season 1. So, here we go. Okay. Can you still hear me? No? Okay. This is a show that rises and falls very quickly. It does this a lot. It starts out so high, and then it just drops so low. So, we're going to talk about another show that came out for at the end of December for What If. And in What If, there is the episode for Kahori. Now, in that episode, she's a brand new Marvel superhero. We've never met her before, and she is of Native American descent with these special abilities to heal and help her tribe. That is what Echo is, and they came out at the exact same time, and it's a huge disappointment for Kahori. Echo to me is what unfortunately what werewolf at the werewolf special werewolf of night was back in October. That's what Echo wanted to be, but it's not. This show is so light on the TVMA rating that it got that it's hilarious. There's barely any blood in this show. The language really isn't that bad, and it's mature enough to a point, but it also isn't. I first off, I think Ala Cox is really good in this role, but once again, much like with Hawkeye for me, they just don't give her enough to do. And this is my biggest issue with Echo. It's biggest issue with Ahsoka. Echo is not super important in her own show. She gets 4 major scenes throughout the entire thing. I think the opening is the most we ever see of her in her own show. And I think what Echo and Ahsoka both do is that they have such strong supporting characters that their main lead gets kind of pushed off to the side. And I think that's Jacob's biggest issue with Ahsoka, and that's my biggest issue with Echo is that I want to know more about Echo. I want to know more about her life, and instead they add in all this goofy bullshit that the director was like, I don't like her abilities. I like the fact that she can mimic and uses her sense of not being able to hear to find out how movies are going to be like. I wanted her to be like herself in the comic, but they had to have superpowers, and that's what they did. Let's talk about the Kingpin Daredevil in the room. Daredevil is in one episode. He's in the first episode for 5 minutes, but for 7 minutes, sorry. But it's 7 minutes of my favorite stuff from the show. I love him in the show so much. For as little as he's there, it felt like Daredevil again, and it felt good. Now let's talk about the other guy, which is Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. He is truly awesome in this show. However, they promoted him so much for this show, and he's barely used. He's used more in the first, the fourth, and the first, the third, the fourth, the first, the third, and the fifth episode. That's where he no, not third. The first, the fourth, and the fifth. The first one and the last two. That's where he's used the most. And him and Echo have a fantastic scene at a kitchen table twice. And but the way they end the conflict with Kingpin, I think, is mediocre at best. They definitely set up stuff for Born Again, obviously, because that's the next time we're going to see Kingpin and Daredevil is in Born Again. But yeah, I was just really let down. I was expecting a lot more out of this show. Granted, I wasn't expecting anything before that trailer. That trailer, I really think, did a lot for this show, and then it didn't. So yeah, Echo gets a 5 out of 10. I think it could have been a lot better than it was. Performance wise, I think it's all fantastic. But story wise, I really think they crapped the bed, and putting her against Kahori was such a dumb thing to do. But that's Echo. I'm very happy that it happened, but I really wish the results were better.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hey, good.
Yeah,
Let me know your rating. What would you rate it?
give it a 5
Out of 10 or out of?
out of 10.
Good thing I wasn't here. Okay.
I wish
Okay.
it could have been better. There were aspects that were there, but I wish it could have been better. And they also put this show way too close to something else that came out in December, and I think that really hurt the show tremendously.
Very well. Going over to Loki season 2, making our way through.
Ah,
All right, Zachary, do you want to start with the good or do you want me to start with the bad?
I'll start with the good.
That's fine.
Loki is the best 2 season show of Marvel ever. I I absolutely adore this show so much. The ending to this show is absolutely perfect. For Tom Hiddleston and the character of Loki as a whole, this put Loki in a spot where I think Tom is happy and that I am happy as a fan. He is now where this has been Loki's journey from Thor to this show, and it came full circle by the end. And also, I know it's not fun to say right now. Jonathan Majors was very good in this show, and it hurts my heart to say that, but it's the truth. I think he's very, very good in this show. The standout for me is uh Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh no, what's his name? Oh no,
Key.
Ki Hugh Kwan.
Yeah.
He's one of the standouts for me in this show. I think they use him very well. Owen Wilson obviously is really good. Once again, episode 5 and 4 are the two most insane things of Marvel for me last year. The ending of episode 4 going into episode 5, I thought was all very well done. And it just it felt like, so you know how they've been putting Disney Plus shows at 6 p.m. on Tuesday because they wanted to feel like in Loki's case 9, like it's a Game of Thrones level show. For me, as much as I love Ahsoka, did not feel Game of Thrones level. Mandalorian did not feel Game of Thrones level. Loki felt like a Game of Thrones level show. I felt like every week I had to sit down and watch. Like there was no reason for me not to sit down and watch this show. that was the level of quality and the level of production they put into this, and it showed. All the performances are fantastic in this show. I think the music in this show is really, really good. Miss Minutes, they gave this clock, this little animated clock, so much to do in this show. And Tara Strong, mwah, I'm so glad this is your performance I'm watching currently and nothing else. No shade there at all, but that's the fact. uh, Loki season 5 gets a 9 out of 10. I only have one issue. I think it was way too short. I think once again Disney Plus is notorious for rushing for too much for watching their shows, and so it rushed too much to get to the end. But I feel like the ending is so satisfying that I was okay that we got there. So that's why it gets the 9. I loved it. This is Tom Hiddleston's tour de force performance, and he did fantastic in it.
Oh, it's
As
my
we, as
turn.
as we did with the Ahsoka, Jacob, you hated it. Why?
I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. No, see, here's the problem. I am so like it was just fine. Like everybody was like, Loki's I mean, we watched it every week. It exactly is true. Out of all the Disney Plus shows that came out last year, Loki is the only one that we sat down and we watched every week, except I think for the final one. I think the final one we waited like 2 weeks in between just because of life and stuff. But we usually sat there either Thursday or Friday and watched the newest and brightest. So it does have that going for it because it couldn't pull us any other way. But everybody else around me really liked it, really loved it, was really feeling it, and I just thought it was okay. I wasn't blown away. I did really enjoy the ending for episode 5, but then I felt like episode 6 kind of just took away all the fun I had. So like I don't know, I didn't agree. I feel like it's a very fitting ending for Loki overall. Like in
Mm-hmm.
general, I think the ending is really good for the character. Obviously, I wouldn't want a sequel season. A lot of people have been saying, "Let's do another." I don't think we
Nope.
should do another. In my opinion, I don't necessarily think I agree with everybody else's ending that for the characters involved, but I thought like Loki as a character, I feel like this is a good ending, and I am super curious to see where he'll pop up again and what that will mean and what
Mm-hmm.
that storyline would mean. But as a whole, like I don't know, it was I hate it. Like I'm not sitting here being like this is the worst, Marvel Disney Plus. That's not true. I promise you. We can talk about Secret Invasion every day. Every day, we would know which one's the worst. Um, what if season 1? We can talk about what's the worst here. Okay, Loki is much better than any of those. Loki is so much better than like oh my gosh, so many things in spades. But as a show, I don't know. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the first season either. I was much more excited for season 2, and because of some developments in other ways, it did kind of hurt the show a little bit and continuing storylines and what that could mean. And because they didn't know that they needed to change things, like this is a good way to take out some important players.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know they needed to take out important players at this point, and so it also kind of sucks because
But
of
they did very well without having to really crush any other lives. They did it, and I'm like, you know what? Good job. You slowly bit off what you couldn't chew just to get rid of it, and it's fine.
I don't know. I just thought it was fine. I thought it was fine. I felt like the Zachary said, Disney Plus does one thing right, and that is rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they like to rush. They do not
But
like
then
to
when we
sit
talk
there.
about the next thing from Disney Plus, it didn't feel like it rushed.
Unlike season 1, and we're going to talk about that because I think that's the important. Loki season 2, it gets like a 6 for me. Very in the middle. Like I didn't hate it, didn't love it. I'd say it's better than most, so it's gonna get a little higher than a 5 because it's made better. I mean, the opening, the certain shots from the first episode, the directing was great. I'm not dissing on the directing.
The directing in the first episode is just.
I'm also not dissing
Mhm.
on the performances. I'm just dissing on the story. I just think
I
it was
like
boring.
Sylvie more in this than the first season.
Oh, I hate Sylvia this season. Oh my gosh, the character could drive me nuts. It would be Sylvie.
Although I think Sylvie and Loki have the best conversation of the entire show.
Annoying. Just annoying. I kind of did like the phasing stuff as well. It got a bit tiring by the end, but I did enjoy it when it first started. I thought some of the effects were quite good. Um So yeah, maybe a 7. I'll land on a 7. I talked myself up. That's okay. We're gonna say a 7 out of 10. Definitely no WandaVision or Hawkeye, even though people think Hawkeye is the worst one, which is fair. You have your own. See, I just don't agree with the masses. That's just really what happens. Let's go ahead and talk about what if. Before we're gonna rank the episodes. I have it all pulled up. I have a graphic where we have all the episodes so we can talk about them. One of the key things I want to talk about for What If season 2 is the fact that Disney, for once in their life, listened to our criticisms and
Mm-hmm.
told full stories,
Mm-hmm.
which was not something they did before. My big issue with What If season 2, which will make the ranking a little bit harder as we go through it, is the simple fact that I felt like for a TV show that's all about anthology and about stories that are not connected, they were a
It
little
felt
bit
very
too
too
connected, in
connected.
my opinion. That being said, let me go ahead and pull up the image for all of us.
Well,
Um,
while you get that set up, overall, what were your thoughts on the season?
Overall, my thoughts on the
Because I know you
season.
weren't big on season one at all.
Yeah, I thought this was an amazing, like a step up from season 1, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think the execution, like releasing it daily and things, was as far as I know they didn't have much of a choice in this regard, but I don't really
Mm-hmm.
think it ended up working out. But it was a great binge. And outside of the fact that season 1 did feel like an anthology, like every episode didn't feel like they were connected outside of one or two, this one felt too connected. And I also liked the introduction of several characters. I mean, good for them. They think they handled it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Zachary, there are 9 episodes here. We're going to rank them from 9 to 1. So,
Okay.
Zachary, where would you put your number 9 episode and why?
My number 9 episode is What If Strange Supreme Intervened? The finale.
Okay.
I To me, this took away everything that was so special about Strange Supreme's first episode in What If season one. I feel like we've already done Crazy Strange Supreme in season one of What If, and so doing it again, I felt like was kind of wish washy and wasn't necessary. Seeing Kahari and Captain Carter team up was really cool. But I also think giving Captain Carter every power known to man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was a little bit too much, and her outfit did not really work. But to me, the finale it ended weaker than it started, so I would go with episode 9.
For me personally, looking, I actually I think I agree with you. I think it would probably Strange Supreme intervened only because I didn't really enjoy. I honestly I think all of my thoughts are pretty much the same that you had said quite quite well. I
Thank
felt
you.
like it was a big disrespect for Strange Supreme in
Hmm.
general. I also I didn't enjoy the fact that I mean I didn't mind they teamed up, but there was like a part of it that felt off. I feel like the whole episode kind of felt off. And making Captain Carter the ship for this entire show, like the holster. I don't know if that was also the smartest. Haley Atwell does a phenomenal job. That's not really the issue here. Is I don't know. I don't know. I kind of got bored with it. I
Hmm.
did really like Kahari coming back though for the assist,
Such a
but
good character.
I don't think it was written well enough for the whole execution.
I agree.
So I would say that's also my number 9.
My number 8 would be What If Peter Quill Attacked the Earth's Mightiest Heroes? This to me is the biggest letdown because they were set in the 1970s or 1980s with Peter Quill being young, and they couldn't use any of the Guardians of the Galaxy music to tie into the show. I think that would have been really cool. I think it would add more to it. Also, Evil Bucky, I'm kind of tired of, and it was just the team around him was okay. Seeing Peter as a young Peter was interesting, I guess, but it wasn't intriguing as the other episodes were. I don't really know how to like externally how I feel about it. It was just eh.
I would say my episode 8 would be Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stompers.
Really?
So on oh wait, no, I take it back. You're right. I
Yeah,
had to
I was
think
about to
about
say,
what episode
you know
that
what episode
was.
that is? That's
Yeah.
the yeah.
Now I'm gonna go with Nebula joined the Nova Corps. The first one. The
Really?
one that started off. Yeah. I enjoyed the episode. It wasn't like there was anything particularly wrong with it.
Mhm.
It's just not as strong as some of the others. Like the one I just mentioned. You're gonna see that's actually pretty high up on my list. I didn't
I
really
was about
realize
to
what
say that
episode.
was crazy for me to hear you say that was at number 8.
Outside of some of the voice work, which we can talk about at the end after we get done ranking them, Nebula is just a bit slower. I like the concept of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it works better as a what if scenario type of thing. But it wasn't as clever as I think the episode was trying to be, and so I don't know. It wasn't. It didn't fully, work for me.
Okay.
Zachary, you're number 7.
Number 7 is What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas?
Okay.
First off, I appreciate what this was. I know the people who worked on this love Die Hard, and they did this for Bruce, which I think is really sweet. And on that aspect, awesome. Giving Happy Hogan superpowers is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in the MCU so far. Making him a pink Hulk was just dumb. I thought the concept was really cool. Again, they're using Kat Dennings so well in the MCU TV stuff, so well. This is where her characters really shined because she's not annoying. She's used really well, and I like being around her. Can't say that about the Thor movies at all, and so I don't like her in Thor: Dark World at all. I think she's extra annoying in Thor 2. But her and Happy together are really good. John Favreau, but also freaking Sam Rockwell coming back to play him, I thought was brilliant. It was really funny. It was a great way to do Die Hard. But again, it was just There were better episodes.
Yeah. It's a bit higher on my list as I think I had a bit more fun with it, and I am going to conclude. I'm going to go with episode 8. What if Avengers assembled in 1602? This is mostly because it's a part 1. You definitely have to see both parts to really get the full story. Honestly, it's a part 2 of 3, really. Wanda is also incredibly underused. So annoying. It is what it is. I have to say it. It was a bit of a disrespect for her being such. I mean, she wasn't a big promoter, but she also kind of was a big promoter. I don't know. Was disappointed with the Wanda
They hyped her
usage
up
here.
for no reason.
Yeah. Okay. Thank God I wasn't the only one who thought it because I definitely thought that.
No, they hyped her up for no reason.
I also didn't really care for the concept. I didn't really think it was that interesting of a story. I think there's plenty of other interesting what if stories they could have told outside of this. Plus, I have to say, if you're a big fan of the comics, it's kind of a huge disrespect for the comics as well. Because it has nothing to do with what the comics are about. It's just saying it's from 1602 because it's a comic, which is also, I think, quite annoying. In Happy Hogan turning into the Hulk again, randomly, in the middle of battle here,
Made no
also, I
sense.
would feel is very weird and doesn't make any sense for continuity. Unless they grabbed him, like is it they're saying that they were assembling the Avengers from the episodes that we watched
They
previously? It wasn't clear whatever the plan here was, in my opinion. So I would say that would be my next number. I don't know what number we're on, to be honest. I can't remember.
I think we're on number
1,
6.
2. Yeah, this would be my number 6. You're correct. Zachary, what is your number 5?
Would this be number 6? I thought this would be my number 6.
Hold on. 9. Yeah, you're right. Number 6. You're correct. I don't know how to do math. Don't ask me.
You're good. My number 6 is 1602 for the
Oh, okay.
exact same things that you just said. I wish that one could have been better. I think the concept of that episode's really cool. I think Steve and Bucky together are as the Merry Men and Robin Hood are very interesting. But again, it's just a part 1. It doesn't feel complete until you watch Strange Supreme intervene, and I think that ultimately hurts part 1 as a whole. So, yeah.
My next one would be episode 3. What if Happy Hogan saves Christmas? It was between episode 3 and episode 2. And on retro, in my brain thinking thoughts, I liked episode 2 just a little bit better. So we're gonna have to go with episode 3 here. With Happy Hogan Saved Christmas, I have a lot of the same thoughts Zachary did. I just had a really good time watching it. Like, I mean, that's just why it's a little bit higher in the ranking, just because I felt like it was a fun Christmas episode. I could see myself next Christmas or in the winter time getting around to the season going back and rewatching this episode. I find it funny that Happy Hogan got superpowers, but I also think it's quite stupid. It's the stupid humor that a lot of Marvel fans don't enjoy, and so I can also
Mhm.
understand why it did not work. But I also kind of loved how none of the Avengers could come save Christmas. Like I did love like the little bits of that as well, and I
Yeah.
think the concept was quite nice. And this is probably like one of my more favorite episodes for the voice acting overall as well. I thought it was quite good here. And then obviously Darcy always just blows me out of the water. I liked her in Thor 2. I'll say it. All right, Zachary,
My
you're
number 5 is what if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster. This to me is first off, this was a scrapped episode from season 1. Lego had a set come out for this where you could build the car and the robot together, and it was really cool. And I was like, I never saw this in What If. Why are they putting a set up for it? Now I know why. The scene where he makes the car just enough to watch the episode as a whole. It's insane. But also I think this gave Tony so much more after the events of Avengers, and him working with Korg and everybody was really interesting. His dynamic with Gamora, because of of who she is related to, I thought was really well done. And also Jeff Goldblum having the absolute time of his life voicing him in this episode. It was so much fun. It reminded me why I like Thor Ragnarok so much. So that's my number 5 is Iron Man. Also the
my
suit, awesome.
My number 5 would be Peter Quill attacked the mightiest heroes. Honestly, the only plus here is ironically the thing that Zachary didn't like about it. And I really enjoyed the team that they put together for Peter, like what the Avengers team
Same.
would look like there. So that was also quite fun. And also, I felt like it was just a little bit better than the first episode, a little bit more like what I was expecting from What If, I guess. I don't know. Like, I mean, you could say that the first episode truly is what If should be,
Hmm.
but what I was expecting was the second episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense or not. But I will have to say, I love the fact that Bucky almost shot him. Almost said this is the moment I need to take that shot. I also love how the Bucky, was calmed down and things. I think both things worked for me as a character and how much I love Bucky. I think it was handled super duper well. And it puts it up just a little bit above because I like the intenseness of it. It felt like there was actually stakes here, which is the first one that we talked about where I truly felt those.
My number 4 is what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps. This to me is again what we just talked about. This is what if should be. This is taking a concept and running with it. This felt so Blade Runner. I love the style. I love the tone. I love how mature it was. Fucking Howard the Duck was used so well in this episode. And Seth Green, you need to play him more. Please. Please play him more. I miss Howard. I actually like saying that sentence now. I didn't miss Howard before. I miss Howard now. And again, Karen Gillan is just perfect in this role. She knows exactly how she functions, how she works, and it showed. I had such a blast with this one. It was a great way to start the season off. So that's my favorite. That's my 4.
My number 4, I was sitting here, I was like, "Ooh, we're getting down to some really, really good
We're really
episodes.
getting yeah.
Where are
Down
we
to, I
gonna
think yeah.
where are we gonna rank them?" I think I have to go with Iron Man Crash into the Grandmaster for my number 4 because we're about to jump into some more serious stuff. I mean, hell, I had a lot of fun, but like, you know what I mean? So this is the last episode that I truly felt like was like super duper, like just balls to the walls fun. Also,
Hmm.
I have to agree. If Iron Man can build a car, why didn't he just do that in Iron Man 2? Missed opportunities, bitches, in my opinion. I love the fact it was a race. I liked it was different from the previous arena that we had
Very Mad
previously
Max.
seen. I I don't know. I had the best time. This is
It
right
was
up
so
my
funny.
alley. Another episode, one of the few episodes from this season that I could see myself going back and
And
rewatching
rewatching.
just because I had such a good time with it. It's just not as well. Well, we'll
As
get
the
to the reasons why.
these
Why our
next
number
three
threes.
these next 3 are just on a whole other level.
5, 6, and 7. What a blissful time to be a Marvel fan.
Really, truly.
All right, Zachary, what is your number 3?
My number three is what if what am I missing? Okay. Is what if Hela found the 10 rings? I this episode first off, the fact that they got Kate Blanchett to voice Hela is just enough for me to go, yeah, no, that's in the top three because I don't think Hela would have worked any other way. It wouldn't have worked. But the way they were able to make Thor 1 and give Hela this heroic redemption story by the end, and the stuff with her and Wenwu, so good. And like her fight with Odin at the end, the way she got to that point, just fantastically done. And Kate Blanchett owned owned it again. So that's my number three.
My number 3 would be what I originally had said was a really low episode, and that is what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stompers? This is one. Oh, sorry. That's your line. This is my line. One is based off my favorite movie, one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. That is Winter Soldier. So that automatically gets props for being top tier. I also do enjoy Captain Carter and Black Widow running around together. There is something kind of fun about that. I also enjoy the idea of the Red Room a little better here. The little pieces that they gave us, I thought it was handled a bit better than the actual MCU. So should have took pointers. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like how it ended. Didn't have a full fledged like ending to a story. I understood why, and you understand why in the long run, but I do think it hinders the episode a little bit. And then I'm just gonna be honest with you. Scarlett Johansson not being the voice, and me knowing Lake Bell's voice so well, I think that's also a big factor here. I just know who it is. I've heard her voice so much. Is a hinder to me. I think it did take me out quite a bit. If that was Scarlett Johansson running around with, in all these in a lot of Black Widow centric episodes, I think I would feel very differently. I think I would have enjoyed it better, and I think it could have possibly been my number 1 or my number 2. Because, how could you not put the number 1 the number 1? But I digress. Zachary, what was your number 2?
My number two is what if Kahori reshaped the world?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Um, this is probably Marvel's most important piece of content they've put out in a solid couple of years. They finally did something they've been trying to do for a while now, and they created a character specific to the MCU. And boy, howdy, am I happy they did. This is such a character introduction, such a way to bring somebody into this world and just let us know she is not someone not to fuck with. Par none. Her power set's incredible. The way they use her power set's awesome, but it's the ending. It is her speech at the end of the episode that made me go, I want to see you in live action. And it makes me very upset for what they did back in January of why they did what they did. It makes me so upset because she should be your standout for this, not somebody else. Um, but no, I love Kahori. I love Kahori. I can't wait to see what else they did with her. That's my number two.
My number 2 would be what if Hela found the 10 rings. One, it's a great concept. And they did get Kate Blanchett back, and you get a ton of respect for that. Even if the episode was bad, I still think you, like Zachary said, I think you would probably be in the top 5, top 3 episodes of the entire season. Um, Hela as a character, taking her from what she was into what she could become.
Hmm.
Also, the conversation about how she grew up, the what she had to go through to be able to become this peaceful warrior. It's very interesting. Hela and Doctor Strange are very similar characters, and their actions are very similar. And the fact that one moment can change your entire life, which is what the precipice of what if is about,
Hmm.
is what makes this episode so high on the list for me, because I think that is the definition of what if Hela found the 10 rings. I do have to agree with some people. I think it was a bit too jokey. Even
Hmm.
though a lot of them landed, I just think it happened. There were maybe too many in succession for me. But outside of that, it was almost perfect. I even though it's so high, I don't know how many times I'd go back to rewatch this particular episode, but it was special when I watched it for the first time, and that's good enough for me.
My number one is what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? Captain America Winter Soldier is my number two Marvel movie. Iron Man is still my favorite, but Winter Soldier is my second favorite Marvel movie of all time. And the fact they were able to switch that, make Captain America the Winter Soldier and Captain Carter the Captain America of the story, and it worked so well. And also, this is the best Black Widow movie that we never got. I'll say that out loud. It's truly the fact. I was more invested in this version of Black Widow than I was in her own movie. And you want to know why? The Red Room was intimidating. It was scary. They made them terrifying, and it felt earned when they fought. Um, Also, what is Marlena? Is her name? I think right. Not Marlena.
Who?
Her surrogate mother. What?
Rachel Weisz's character. I
Yeah,
can't think of what her name is either off the top of
but
my head.
Rachel, why wasn't she the villain in Black Widow? Because she is so good here.
Oh, it's because
Oh,
Rachel Weisz could not do the action that was handed to her. Is
I know, and it's so sad because she could have been such a good villain.
Yeah,
Oh.
the Iron Maiden is quite a good villain.
And also the concept of the Hydra Stomper being it was so cool. I think it was so well done. Um, it just again pointed out why I like Captain Carter so much. And I do want a Captain Carter in live action again. I really do because I think Haley Atwell owns this role to a T. I wouldn't mind just a Captain Carter animated series. I'd be all down for that too, just to see her story go on. I think that'd be awesome. So yeah, that's my number one.
My number one is Kahori reshaped the world for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons Zachary already said um, what this episode did. But I think the big standout for me, outside of the important messages and the important conversation about genocide and also how real that is to the conversations that are happening today in this society,
Scary.
is the simple fact that she is a brand new character, never in any type of Marvel situation. And it just shows you that if you pick a character that is organic, that is real, without trying to do things to make them a certain way, I don't know if that's whatever it might. There's a lot of different scenarios you could come across. Um, if you do it organically, people are going to fall in love with her.
Mhm.
A big reason why a lot of these other characters that are very similar to Kahori that are in the world today that are not doing well. Like, I mean, I love Miss Marvel, but Miss Marvel is just not clicking with fans. It's not clicking with people. Milani is, but Miss Marvel isn't clicking. Um, a lot of the Marvel characters, Marvel's that movie in particular, are
Echo.
not. I haven't seen it. Can't talk to Echo, but I will have to say on the slight remark here because I've seen a few people talk about how we should have stuck with Kahori and Echo shouldn't have been a character or something or
I
those
made that
lines.
remark in my I made that
I
remark in my review.
disagree. Even though I've not seen Echo yet, I will have to say I disagree. I think the beautiful thing is to have multiple characters of different nationalities and things under those lines. I think putting them so close together, yes, I think that
That
is an
was the
issue.
issue. Them being together, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. It's the fact that they didn't give me they did not give each of them time to shine. That's my
Oh,
biggest issue.
another thing outside of I mean, it was just a beautiful episode. It was so beautifully
Which
well done.
the
Uh,
animation is incredible on this one.
I I will have to say they overpowered her a little too much. I do wish her power set and the idea of her power set was a bit more clear than some of the ways that they made it out to me. And truly, I just feel like that's another big issue that Marvel keeps doing, especially with their female characters in particular, is that they're just a little bit too overpowered and they need to figure out where the limitations are. If she uses too much power, then there should be a consequence to it. Having
Mhm.
unlimited amount of power, that's where the issue lays. And Marvel has found themselves in that situation quite a bit. Like the thing here is, like you could say, "Oh, Doctor Strange is overpowered." Technically, you're not wrong, but the
Mhm.
consequence of that is he goes mad. Like every time, there's not a single time he just goes mad. Like he gets too much power, he figures out a way to handle it, but like that's the reason why Supreme, Strange Supreme There's like a lot of layers to that type of thing, and I think there needs to be that same thing. I think we need to figure out where the hurdle is.
I think my favorite female hero in the MCU that does this very well for me. Granted, I don't think they used her very well in Multiverse is Scarlet Witch. I think they've established her very well, what her powers mean and how catastrophic they can become. And WandaVision, I think, showed that where it wasn't feeling like it was being overdone, but just showed enough to where how far it could go.
I do
And then
agree.
we've already talked about Mom and how we think that they rehashed it and made it worse. And so,
But on the only thing I'd say they could do that they did better there is that they did unblock all of her powers that she could possibly have, and it did do the same thing that did to Steven. It made her go mad because
mhm,
she thought she could fix everything. In reality, that's not possible, and so there is a hurdle. There's a lot of these
mhm,
other characters. There is not a hurdle. I will say in some other movies, I won't say which ones that we'll be watching here soon. They do introduce a few hurdles to some of these overpowered female characters that could be interesting going forward if they're not already here today. That's all
mhm.
I'll say. So they
That's
are
my
trying
biggest
to fix
issue.
it, but not
That's my
fully.
biggest issue with Captain Marvel is that I love Brie in the role, and I think Brie does better every time I see her. But it doesn't feel like every time that Captain Marvel uses her powers, there's no consequence to her using because of how crazy powerful that she really is. I wish there was like a way to make her feel like she's still in the same realm as everybody else. Because when she shows up in Endgame, that feels like they're MacGuffin, like ta-da, we're done. And so I wish there was like a way to make her feel more, you know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, I can't really speak to it because, like
I
I said,
loved what I think of all the Marvel stuff this year. I think this is something we can all unanimously agree. This was the best thing, one of the best things Marvel put out this year, and no one was expecting that at all. It was so good. It's great binge, by the way. It's a fantastic binge. If you didn't watch it every single day, it's a fantastic binge. That's what we did.
yeah, we watched it over the course of 2 days, and it flowed so well.
Mm-hmm.
Very much enjoyed. All right, that is what is season two. I feel like it is pretty anthology. I'm not going to give it a star rating just because we
Yeah,
technically have to star rate every episode type of
we
thing.
ranked
And
them all. You kind of know how
yeah,
we feel about the season overall.
moving on. All right, the way this is going to go going forward, me and Zachary have two TV shows that we watched individually. I think Zachary maybe have seen like one or two episodes of the one I'm going to talk about, but I'm not sure. Okay, one episode of the one I'm going to talk about. Uh, I've never seen anything that he's going to talk about. That's okay. And then we're going to jump into some movie reviews. I'm going to do a quick spread, spend like a few minutes on each movie review as we make our way down to where we meet again. So just kind of like a for everybody out there. All right, starting with Gen V season one. Zachary, before I go on my little spiel, I will have no spoilers here, just because I don't really have anything spoilery to really say about, except one thing that happens in the finale. But I'll tell you when, so you can take off your headphones. So you don't have to hear it if you want to go back. I highly recommend you do, but to
I
each
will.
their own. What did you think of the first episode? Like, if you just had to give it a journalistic thoughts on it.
Everybody. So here's my thing. Everybody loves this show. Loves this show. It just didn't click. All the characters are fascinating. There are certain scenes in the first episode that are like, okay, they really just let everybody go nuts with this. No pun intended, but sure. I think the concept of the show is fascinating. This is like, what if X Men was R rated? And this should be my shit. It really should. But I'm just not invested in the characters enough. Like, I think if I continue to watch the show, that would happen. And they set things up for every single character that I think are interesting. I love the blood power that the main person uses. I think it's fascinating. And having a Homelander statue in the middle of the campus just makes me feel icky and weird and disgusted, as
Please,
it should.
please do.
But I definitely need to go back and finish this before Boy season 4 obviously comes out this year. So I will watch it before then. But it just didn't click.
Well, I will have to say I will rewatch it, and this is one that I have actually seen several episodes twice because my fiance watched it, and I watched several episodes again with him. And I will have to say I will admit it is a lot. It's a lot to handle. There's a lot on screen. There's a lot going on. It is not a slow show. It is fast paced, which is why I did enjoy the weekliness of it, just because I enjoyed being like, okay, that's a lot, and then ending with a cliffhanger, and you're just like eagerly waiting for the next one. We watched the first 3 episodes in one go without any thought. I as soon as the opening, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is for me. That's fine.
And I knew from the opening this was a Jacob show.
I loved I liked the trailers. A lot of people didn't like the trailers. I was like, you know what? If this is CW, guess what? I'm there. I like CW. If this is trash, guess what? I like trash television. I'm there. It's all good. And this is so much better than any of those things I just said. Yes, it has the gratuitous nudity. And I mean, to be fair, I do get the common complaint that there are no titties. There's a little bit of titties, but mostly no titties. Get over it, guys.
No, I have now realized the boys loves dicks.
The boys heard us. The boys are like, you know what people have seen a lot? Titties. You know what people don't see a lot? Penises.
Dicks. But it's such a drastic contrast.
And there are some really cool things that are explored here. Powers in younger children, what that looks like with superheroes, what that means, what a power like the main character has, and what the detrimentalness of that is, what the exploration of that
terrifying.
is.
The opening scene is just like, oh,
the manipulation of it all. The characters themselves are phenomenal. Because I am sitting here giving you guys a little bit of a review, I'll quickly go through my favorites, and then we can move forward.
It's very well written. That's another thing I'll say. The first episode, it's so well
written. It's well written throughout the entire thing. Okay, so outside of obviously Marie Moreau, who I adore, but she's the main character. She has the most development out of everybody in the show, so she doesn't technically count here.
But she's not the one I heard about the most. It was her best friend I heard about the most.
Yes. Lizzie Broadway, who plays Emma Myers, who is a girl who can shrink. That's all I'll say in that regard. It's
insane, man.
Okay. It's fucking phenomenal. This is a breakthrough performance. If her career, which she might be locked into a few things where she can't really take projects because of certain things with the boys, because not spoiler alert, but this does take place and it does introduce what exactly season 4 will be about, which is a very interesting thing. And that's part of the reason why I wish Zachary would have watched it, because that would be an interesting discussion on its own, but like, it's fine. It's
not
phenomenal
at all.
She is so fucking good here. Her storylines are great. She is so funny. Like, her comedic, she is a born actress. Her career, when she can start doing bigger stuff outside of GMB, which is quite huge in The Boys and stuff, when she can start branching out, she's gonna take off. I can already see it. Other people who I think will be taking off. I also think Derek will take off, and I also do think that London Thor will take off. Those are the people who played Jordan Lee, the controversial character, the transgender character, non-binary, however you want to state it. That was what they are. That's what the point of them are. And they have some interesting things going on. That's all I'll say. But their power set is so fucking cool. And the fact that we get to meet these characters when they already really know, but the only really character in here who's exploring their power set and what that could really mean for them is Marie. Everybody else has a very good idea how to use their power sets in fights or in situations. And that, my friend, all right, Zachary, I do need to take your headphones off just for a quick little second. I have an action thing I want to talk about for the finale that you can't hear. All righty. I'm going to mute his mic just so that it's not in the background. I guess I'll make myself big because, he doesn't need to be there. Okay, so the thing. Oh my God, guys! I freaked out. We watched it 4 times. We rewound it. We kept going back because it was so fucking cool. It is one of the coolest things I saw last year on television. The finale is probably one of the best episodes of television I watched last year, like in a fun kind of sense of action. It was so good. That's all. That's all I got. Okay, he can come back now. You can come back. Unmute. I'm mute. I can't do it. I can mute you, but I can't unmute you. What the fuck? I don't know. Either way, you're here.
You sounded very excited about what you said.
I'll say this I can tell you because there's no spoilers in it. The finale episode, especially like the last like 20 minutes. It's probably some of the best stuff I've watched all of last year. Gen V, outside of The Last of Us and stuff, was, as you guys know, because we did a list and stuff, very high on my top 5 TV shows of last year because it was just blew my mind. What a beauty. All right, that's Gen V. I would walk away saying it's probably like an 8.5, maybe a 9. It's not perfect because there are some little things in between. Also, it's a continuation of a story, so there's more to come, type of thing. So we don't get a lot of answers. But what they prepare us for, it's gonna be so I'm so excited.
So I did watch the Boys season 4 trailer, the teaser they put out.
Yes.
And I was like, this looks insane. And they cut to, I think that was Marie in the trailer. I think.
I have no idea. It's been a minute since I've watched the trailer for The Boys season 4. Let me go back and I'll look through it as you talk about Masters of the Universe, and then maybe I'll be like, hey, I'll add to it. We can go on a little tangent for a second, but you can go ahead and move on to. You.
Oh, okay. So, if you guys came by and watched it with me, thank you guys very much. We had a great time watching it. Last weekend we watched Masters of the Universe Revolution. And here's my thing. I think it shows also in the commentaries, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 for me, the first 3 episodes, that's the high. It ends just too low. Here's my biggest issue with Motu Revolution. First off, Kevin Smith, you did really good. This feels more like Masters than Revelation did. And that's because this is now the aftermath of Revelation, so we can have more fun with it. And we do. This deals with a lot more dark, mature themes than Revelation did, which is crazy to say because Revelation dealt with some pretty heavy things. But this dealt with some pretty heavy things as well. You do things with Skeletor that just didn't sit right with me. And also the Sarah Michelle Gellar in the room. That I love Melissa Benoist so much. Her Supergirl is my Supergirl. I love Sasha Calle, but when I think of Supergirl, I think of Melissa. However, she is not Tila. They tried so hard, and I think the relationship felt more interesting between Adam and Tila because of Scott and Melissa being married. Obviously, the relationship feels more genuine, feels more real. So when you have that chemistry, it works better. But I just think there's also the big issue for me is that this was only 5 episodes compared to how long she was not okay. Revelation I think was 7 or 8 episodes, I believe. And so it felt shorter. The ending felt really rushed. And it felt like the major players from Revelation didn't have much to do. Andra, one of my favorite new characters in Masters, who played by Tiffany Smith, felt very pushed to the side to deal with the Skeletor stuff. And again, also, you talk about hyping up a character named Hordak, and you use the Horde really, really well in this show, and him in general. You do stuff with him that I think is very interesting, but the post-credit scene is where I got my biggest issues. You're going to bring in somebody and you're going to make them a villain the first time we meet them. That's weird. I was not expecting that, nor do I think it's a good idea. However, though, I had such a fun time watching this. Gwildor, my friends, if you've never seen the 1987 Masters of the Universe movie, highly recommend. It's schlocky, but it's so much fun. They reference this show takes place in that canon. The He-Man in this show is the same He-Man from that movie because Gwildor is the exact same character from that movie. The pink car is in this cartoon. That is so cool that the pink car is in this movie. I don't know why that's cool to me, but seeing something from the 1987 movie here with him holding the cosmic key, I mean, it's just like, whoa, hold on a minute. You're really going to do this, Mattel? No one likes that movie, but you're going to make it canon in the universe? Go for it. I think some of the performances in this are really good. Mark Hamill really shines as Skeletor. He has more to do. However, good old Captain Kirk, William Shatner, He was the standout of this season. I won't tell you who he plays, but he is fantastic in this show. He fits the role perfectly because he brings that quirkiness, sexy, escape parts to the role, and it just feels suave and smooth. It was awesome. The action sequences are fantastic. The ending is insane. Um, Overall, it gets a 6. It could have been better. However, I told this to Jacob when we talked about it. First season was Revelation. This one was called Rvoloution. I think we get the announcement at Comic Con, and season 3 will be called Retribution for a character they haven't shown yet. But also, who's going to play said character? I don't know. I feel like they got rid of somebody to make her a different role, but I think that'd be dumb. Although I think she would have fun playing the character. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see because I'm so intrigued what they're going to do. Go watch it. It's only 5 episodes. Really easy to watch. Will you watch it, Jacob? Yes or no?
Uh, Probably not.
Because we lost your anchor into my show, which was Sarah Michelle Gellar. She's no longer there,
Yeah, that's true.
and I
And
think that's the biggest. That's my biggest issue with the show. It doesn't feel like the show now without her, and it's so weird. She was only there for one season, but she added so much to Tila.
I did watch that entire season. I thought it was just okay.
Lena Headey as Evil Lynn gets so much more to do this season. She made me cry twice. She was
Well,
Evil Lynn's fantastic in this show. He knows that I want to see Lena Headey as live action Evil Lynn. That's how good she is. I want her in this role now. Like, let that happen.
all right. Well, Zachary, did you have a rating? I didn't hear a rating.
It was a 6.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Interesting. So positive for such a.
No, I wasn't positive. It's just there were certain moments that really got me, but overall, I think the stuff with Skeletor really hurts the show. It could have been a lot better. Gwildor was the highlight. That dumb little wizard is just adorable, and the
Yeah,
pink
no,
car, so
that's
cool.
completely fair. All right. We're gonna be running through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly more mini reviews, mini movie reviews. Essentially, what that means is that I'm gonna try to talk about them as less possible with as much clear thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're running a little bit on time on schedule here, and I want to make sure we get to everything. And yeah, a lot of these movies came out at the very end of last year, or I have one January movie to talk about, and that's it. That's okay. All right, let's get started. I'm going to start with Wonka. I saw, you guessed it, 3 musicals back to back, and I'll go in the order of reviewing them as I saw them. So I saw Wonka. Wonka is Paul
Mm-hmm.
King's new movie. This is obviously the story of how Wonka became Wonka, which I think is kind of poorly advertised because a lot of people hear Wonka and still think they're remaking Charlie and Chocolate Factory. This has nothing to do with Charlie and Chocolate Factory. There is no Chocolate Factory at all. Lots
There's
of
no Charlie.
chocolate, and there's no Charlie. My standout performances is definitely Olivia Colman because damn, they asked her to do a lot and she was ballsy for doing it. Don't really know if I would have agreed, but that's okay. Also, I mean, here's the thing. I didn't like this movie. I wouldn't really recommend this movie. I think the singing is pretty bad. I think the singing's fine. I think the music is horrible. Timothy Chalamet, I'm still kind of iffy if he can sing or not. Everybody else does a pleasant job, but the music, the songs are just god awful. Could not stand them. They just kept going and going and going and going and going. There are very little stakes for such a stakeful movie. It's really hard to explain to us, I guess, if you've seen a Paul King movie, because I remember Paddington being such high stakes for being so low stakes of a movie as well. I don't know.
How dare you diss the bear?
I didn't diss the bear. I dissed the movie. The bear's cute.
How dare you diss the movie with the bear in it?
I will also say, I'm sorry to break it to you. Maybe it's my cynics inside of me. I'm normally a half and half type of dude, but oh my god, when you go one route too far, my brain can't handle it. It's too fucking hopeful. I just couldn't do it.
This was the funniest thing Jacob told me in all of 2023. He looked at me and said, "This movie's too hopeful," and I about fell on the floor. I was like, "Have you not seen Paddington? Have you not seen Paddington 2? They're two of the most hopeful films ever. They make a prison scene hopeful. I mean, you can't get much more hopeful than that."
without spoilers, there are moments in this movie where people are literally going to die, and then the next minute they're joyful. They're happy. They're all having a good ass time. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I do not agree. I don't like it. I don't want it. This is not my movie. Yeah, sure, I watch a lot of sad shit, but I like a mixture. I don't know. I couldn't get into an emotion. Like, people were crying, and I was like, how the fuck are you crying? Is it because it's so hopeful that it brought you to tears? Who the fuck does that? Who cries for being happy? Not me. I don't have happy tears. I got sad tears.
In all
And
reviews for this movie, I've never heard someone go, "This movie was too hopeful."
also, and this is the thing for a lot of these movies that we're going to talk about. You kind of have to be into the gimmick, or you're really just not going to have a good time. This very much falls underneath that category of I just wasn't into the whole chocolate world and what that could mean. And that's all I'll say. Also, Hugh Grant as Oompa Loompa used very sparingly, very well though. Best part, would watch a sequel for Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa. Honestly, maybe do a spin-off where it's just Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa, nothing else. Yeah, I think it. I don't know. No, Timmy Chalamet does a fine job. It's not really the issue. The issue is it's just too fucking hopeful. I just couldn't handle it. And the music is just so bad. The music is it's just like, I mean, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be good because the trailers were hiding it, like just trying their hardest to be like, this is not a musical. And honestly, I feel like that's just because Hollywood's like, musical bad, even though this movie's made $600 million. So I guess people do like it. I'm the oddball. No one's shocked. Okay, moving on. That's Wonka. Out of 10, I think I gave it like a 4.5 or something like that. It's in my worst movies of the year. Not the worst movie I've seen this year. I'm actually not talking about that movie because it was so bad that I decided I didn't want it on the slate. That's how bad a movie it was.
We already talked about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, dude.
I'm talking about Night Swim.
You saw Night Swim?
I sure did. We're not going to talk about it though because
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry for myself.
The color purple.
Moving on to greatness. All right, the next day, I took my fiance. We went and saw The Color Purple. And then I said, anything could be better than Wonka. We're in for a treat. And I was right. Ironically, though, my biggest issue with The Color Purple, it's too hopeful. But it's not in a way, like, it's not, that's not the issue here, because there's a lot of seriousness going on. I cried. Oh my gosh, I bawled my eyes. I cried several times throughout this movie. The music is so good. Also, the fact that it's a lesbian love story, kind of, was mind-boggling. Had no idea. It's mentioned briefly in the original, but it's like fully explored here in greatness. Done so well. It deserved more Oscars. It deserved more recognition. Daniel Brooks was the standout of the cast for me personally. Charlie P. Henson does a great job. Fantasia does a great job. But the thing here with the original one, the reason why it hit so much harder for me personally is the rating. Back then, I think it was rated PG, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe PG-13.
Which is insane.
I can't remember. It's one or the other. I think The Color Purple, even though it would limit its audience, even though the audience was already limited as it was, I think it should have been rated R to go to the places that the movie just wasn't willing to go for the impact that it wanted for certain songs or elements. Because that impact was lackluster because it didn't have the darkness to it. It had everything else. Just a little bit of darkness. I think this movie could have been like a 10. Because it doesn't have everything in the layers, I'm going to land on an 8. Still very good. Could not recommend enough. One of my favorite movies that came out during the season. No, this one, once again, it has a point of darkness. I'm sure people are going to come for me in the comments saying like, dude, did you watch the same movie? I did. I just didn't think certain things hit the right way because it didn't have the extra wear. I can't really explain it. You have to watch both of them back to back because me and my fiance swiftly came home and watched the original one right after we got done seeing it, and we could totally pick out what the problem was, where the difference was. And it was not the music. The music was great. The music did kind of slow down some of the timeline stuff, which kind of made it a little murky as well. So have a good idea of what the movie could be about if you get confused. That's all I'll say. Either way, it was great. Moving on. Next one. Mean Girls. The last movie I saw in this 3 musical. Goddamn, I was crazy. But also, who says they get to watch 3 musicals in a week in theaters that are not the same? Not a lot of people.
No.
Mean Girls is obviously a remake of the 2004 classic.
Is it though?
It is. Oh my god,
Is it a
Zachary.
remake?
It's a full-fledged remake. There's nothing else I could tell you. It's a remake.
But isn't the concept still the same?
Well, I mean, one, okay, is about one's about high school in 2004, one's about high school in 2024 with music. That's the big difference here. Is the music. And the music is so fucking good. This was a standout. This hit every level for me personally. The acting was phenomenal. Oh my god, what is her name? She was just in a trailer. Anikaka, I think it's how you pronounce it. She
Oh, the
plays
thing
Karen.
with yeah, the movie coming out with Nicolas Cage for Neon.
Oh no, that's Mika Moore, not that one.
Oh, duh. I'm not seeing that movie. No, no, no,
Uh,
no.
Taro is what the one I'm talking about is called.
Oh, that eh.
Yeah, I'm still gonna see it though because she was so good in this movie. I'm gonna watch it. Avantika was so fucking phenomenal as Karen. My biggest little backstory, just very tiny. Mean Girls 2004 obviously is a classic. I watch it every year on October 3rd. It is a cemented amazing movie. This will be added. I think we'll do a double feature every year. The musical and the non-musical. There's enough things that are changed here to make it its own while keeping it still very much the same. But Karen, Amanda Seyfried, is perfect in that movie. She's perfect in every type of way that Karen gets brought back in the years that she's replayed the character. So bringing someone new in to play Karen, I was like, it has to be right. Everybody else could suck. I don't care. It has to be correct. And they got Karen right, and I was happy and I was satisfied. And
Everybody's favorite song from the movie is her song.
I love Sexy. I love the fact, this is a bit of a spoiler, but it's Mean Girl, so it's not really. Everybody has this song where it kind of deep dives into their brain, and her song is Sexy. And if you watch the movie, it's really funny that her brain really is just, she is just fully Karen. I know some people have taken complaints with that, saying that she has no growth and she has no development because she truly is just an idiot. I mean, really, when you come down to, but have you met Karen? I don't know. I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. I think they hit it off the park in my personal opinion. Renee Rapp was phenomenal, and I do hope she gets more work because of this. She doesn't want to be an actress, to be fair, so she might turn down a lot of opportunities that could come out of this. And Angela Rice is also quite good here, even though I do think she is quite somewhat miscast as Katie Heron. But I think that's just because I've seen her play the mean girl before in other roles, and I think uh, I had a hard time picturing it as a true Katie.
Did
Oh,
she sing?
also, yes. It's not. She's definitely not the best singer out of the movie, but she's definitely she definitely does a very good job. And then Anoi Carvaro, who was Moana as Janice, she also does a great job and makes her own. So
And
everybody did a good
obviously,
job.
she can't sing. She's probably the worst singer of the bunch. She really can't sing at all, can she? No, not at all.
She has quite a few songs in the movie, so I don't know. Her and Renee Rapp are tied with the most songs in the film.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, it truly. I mean, you have that cast, and that's I would put out that one. All right, lastly, before Zachary pulls over with his top movie of the year, for my birthday, I got to pick one movie to go see, and I chose Anyone But You, the surprise hit of January 2024, which we'll talk about.
You know it's coming back in theaters again?
It never left theaters. The
No, but
encore, the
yeah.
encore is they're adding extra stuff at the end.
So is
That's
everyone gonna go
why.
watch that? Probably.
Actually, I'm not. No, because I'm seeing Madam Web, and I can only pick one movie for Valentine's Day.
So you're picking.
I'm picking Dakota Johnson. Yes, I'm not mad about it. I'm not ashamed about it. I want to go see Dakota Johnson in theaters. That's just really what this says. Okay, I'm excited. Don't diss
You'll be
on
the
me.
only one in your theater.
I did check. It's pretty low ball. I'm waiting to buy tickets.
Hey, I can see in the future. It'll still just be you in the theater.
No, there's 6 or 7 of us, but I'm not hopeful. With that being said, for
Anyway,
anyone but you is a rom-com. This is the definition of bringing back a 2000s rom-com with Sydney Sweeney, ironically, also in Madam Web.
Madam Web.
And Gwen Powell is a raunchy R-rated rom-com. Very raunchy. Lots of raunchy things do take place. Lots of nudity. There's 2 or 3 sex scenes, but that's not the important part. It's really funny. I laughed a lot. We all laughed a lot. I cried. I did cry. That motherfucker got me. And it's made by the same people who made one of my favorite movies of all time, Friends with Benefits. and it's not as good as Friends with Benefits. Friends with Benefits is a bit of a step above for me personally,
Friends
but
with Benefits is my brother's standard for rom coms. Like if you
it's
don't
really good.
hit that, you're good, but you're never gonna be that.
And I thought like this one could be on that level, and it was super close. It just wasn't exactly there. There's like an element missing. I couldn't tell you what. However, the first 5 minutes of the movie are some of the best first 5 minutes of the movie I've ever seen. It's so perfect. It is so perfect that I almost went and saw it again the next day just for the opening. Nothing else. I mean, the rest of the movie's good, but like the opening is something I would rewatch like a bunch of times. It's so perfect. They hit it so off the part. Also, the chemistry is phenomenal, which is all you need for a rom com in this caliber and stuff. My biggest issue is they have his best friend, Glenn Powell's best friend, plays a token. Well, it's not a token black character. It's a token black comedy character, which is a bit different. It simply just means that he has no personality outside of being the butt of a joke or trying to make people laugh. There's like no extra development.
That's
Everybody
definitely
else has,
2000s
yeah,
comedy
very,
for sure.
very 2000s. Um, it is a lesbian romance at its forefront, but I don't know. He's not the only person of color in the film, but you could totally tell they had nothing for him to do outside of like be the humor guy.
Hmm.
And every time he made a joke, like we just kind of snickered. We're like, you really can't do anything else with him because everybody else was making jokes and making the movie fun while also
Hmm.
having multiple layers, and they gave him nothing. So certain things should be left in the past, even if you're trying to remake a genre.
But it also just shows you how far we've come in
Yeah,
the comedy standards for sure.
totally. Especially in rom coms in particular.
Mm.
This was quite a few years old. The Issa Rae one, what is that one called? Do you know which one I'm talking about? With
Uh,
it was on Netflix. It got moved over to Netflix originally with theatrical release. Lovebirds.
that's a
Lovebirds.
great one.
It's a perfect example of how much we've come forward in things. Ironically, the one with the two white leads is the best, but the world is the world. I can't do anything about it. It's a good movie though. I highly recommend. Probably would say it's probably like around a 7 is my best guess out of 10. Obviously, everything is different, so a 7 here could be a different 7 somewhere else. But
Hmm.
we do like giving a number. All right, Zachary, what's your pitch for this one?
Jacob, what is my pitch for Godzilla Minus One? Um, it's fucking awesome. That's like that. That's it. Thank you guys. Have a good one. No, in all seriousness, this is my first Toho Godzilla movie ever. I have not watched any of the original Japanese Toho Godzilla movies simply because up to this point, I've never really been the big of a Godzilla guy. You ask me that question now, I'm the exact opposite. I'm all in for this dragon lizard monster guy. He's fantastic. But before that, like obviously as a kid, I loved the Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie. As an adult, whoo, no, no. And I'm also a big fan of the current MonsterVerse stuff. I think it's all been really, really good. I've gone back and reflected; they're really good, but I've never gone back and watched their roots. I've seen the original 1950s King Kong movie, but I've never seen Godzilla. And so I went into minus one thinking, so what am I going in for? Like, what's this movie going to be? I did not expect to cry in a Godzilla movie, but I did. I did not expect to be awed in a Godzilla movie, but I was. Um, the acting in this movie is truly incredible, and the direction, the writing, directing, and visual effects Oscar nominated for the first time in 70 years for Godzilla, all from the same person. That's insane. Takahashi Mura, I believe is his name, does such a good job with all of that. But it's the core group of people that you're around. Your main hero, his friends that he meets on a boat, and Japan as a whole. I think it's all fascinating. But to me, what really makes this movie shine is the music. I think the music of this film is truly breathtaking. Godzilla's theme is so good, but this movie is dark. It's sad. This deals with some fucking heavy shit. And it's all about this man trying to realize what his role in life is because in the movie, it's based in World War II. he plays a suicide bomber, and during World War II, and he decides, no, I'm good, I want to live. So he denies himself that role, and when he comes home, everybody hates it. Everybody hates him. Everything, he's a disgrace. And in that time, he's met Godzilla, and it's about him trying to figure out what his thing in life is, and Godzilla's there to kind of just push him forward with destruction. And the moment of the movie is uh is is the first time you see Heat Wave. I won't tell you exactly how it all goes down, but it's truly one of the most all moments I've seen in a theater in a long time. It's visually stunning. The action in is so well done. The opening is insane, and I was nervous about watching this movie in theaters simply because I have trouble reading. I've gotten better with subtitles or having them on screen, but I've never done it in the theater before. So I was nervous, like, am I able to keep up with everything going on? And I was, and so I was more invested in the story. And I really wish I would have got to go see the reissue for black and white, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out where I could go. But I cannot wait to watch this with you for a commentary later down in the year. And this gets a 9 for me. There are some qualms with the film. I think it is a little too long for my taste. I think they overstay their welcome just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little. And my other big critique is a spoiler, so I won't get into it. Um, but all in all, though, it's one of the best movies of the year. It was my favorite movie of last year, and I hold by that. It's just so well done. I can't wait to watch it again. It really feels like monster movies are coming back in stride, and it's really cool. And if you are a big Godzilla fan, I highly recommend this and go back and watch King of the Monsters in 2014. They hit so differently now. It's so weird. Go back and watch Monarch. Really good Godzilla stuff currently.
All
Let's go talk
right.
about something that wasn't that good.
Well, it
Rebel
wasn't
Moon.
wasn't a horrible, but it wasn't great either.
You can start this one off.
Rebel Moon, Rebel Moon. Okay, I had medium expectations going into it. My big takeaway for doing a rundown here, I felt like some of the world building was pretty cool. Some of these ideas here were pretty cool. I would say some of the lines kind of worked, but it did feel very Zack Snydery. Ironically, I saw two movies by very distinct directors this year so far. This one being by Zack Snyder. I just went and saw a Matthew Vaughn movie, and both I would say are the weakest films that they released so far as well. Rebel Moon, being as beautiful as it is,
It's gorgeous.
definitely gorgeous, still kind of lacking in some places for the directing. I think personally, in my regard here, it just was the PG-13 of a rated R movie I really wanted,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna be much more excited when the rated R version comes out. I've had no desire to rewatch it at any point in time. I've had no desire to revisit the story. I am quite excited for the sequel, even though I felt like the ending was so stupid. But I liked. I did. I thought the ending was just so
It's bad.
stupid. But I did like the final fight in the movie. I felt like that one
Hmm.
would stand out for me personally. I could just tell there's things that are missing, big parts of the story that are missing. I could also tell that several elements of action sequences had to be cut out due to X, Y, and Z reasons, mostly because it's PG-13. My big thing here, if you're releasing a movie on Netflix made exclusively for Netflix, just make the version you want. There's no reason to release an extended cut of a film.
It feels like it's a Snyder problem
Yeah,
more
it
than
seems like
anything.
it
Like
could be.
it feels like he has to have two versions of this movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. There's no point for it. People are going to watch it if it's rated R or not, especially if it's on Netflix. Parental
Hmm.
controls really fucking suck. So,
And
uh,
also, Zack Snyder's movies, when are rated R, are better. That's where
what?
that's where he lands better, is in the R-rated category.
Just gonna say, not we're not talking about Argyle. We'll talk about Argyle in the next podcast. But I feel a very similar sentiment when it comes to Matthew Vaughn as well as it does here. Um, Argyle would be better rated R. Rebel Moon, I'm really excited for the actual R-rated version that we're getting. Do I
I'm
think we're gonna
not.
get? I am. I'm really curious about the action and knowing the fact that there are big story beats that had to be cut out for whatever the reason is. that alone does make me very interested. There's also quite a few monster designs here, even though this movie is extremely derivative of like a bunch of different things. I think some of the monsters, there's like one or two monster designs or techniques that they use here that are pretty cool, like the squid stuff. I thought was pretty interesting.
I like the
Um,
Spider Lady.
well, the Spider Lady was cool, but it was one of those things like a Disney Plus show. It was there when it began and then gone before I could think twice. I would say I probably landed on like a 6.
How were the performances for you? Like were there any performances that really stood out, or were they all kind of just there?
They were just there. Pretty standard for a Zack Snyder film. Sophia Botella. Ironically, this is not the best I've seen her in, which was something I thought would be because I feel like she'd be a really good fit, and I still think she could be a good fit. Uh, but yeah, no. One of the biggest things I have a problem with this movie is the romance in it, actually, and the fact that I feel like the entire romance subplot is in the rated R version.
Oh
Like,
yeah, because remember there are certain scenes in the trailer that we did not see in this movie.
I just know for a fact that there is sex and there is no sex. Like I don't know, and so that's really interesting because when I watched the trailer for the Scavenger, because this is I didn't put the full title in here because it's super long, but when I watched the trailer for the Scavenger, I think that's what is that? Is that right? What is
Part it's
part
part two, the
two?
scavenger or something.
Yeah. Either way, that was really interesting. The fact that there is a relationship presented there that I feel like has zero setup for there to be a relationship at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, either way, and no performance blew me away either. I thought some of the fight choreography was pretty good, but it's Zack Snyder, so I wasn't really, you know what I mean.
Oh, Zach. Oh, Zach. Listen, I love this man so much. He's given me some of my favorite movies as a kid and as an adult. Man of Steel, one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Zack Snyder's Justice League, God tier. It's one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. But he also gave me Watchmen, which I think is one of his better movies that he's done. Honestly, this to me is on the realm of Sucker Punch. This is where I think this lands. This was boring. I didn't have it was funny at moments, but I just and some of the action scenes are good, but it just I didn't care. Like there was not enough stakes for me to actually care about any of the characters. And again, I didn't care because I know there's another version coming. And I know that version is going to be superior to what I watched. And so it's very hard for me to get invested in this movie when I know the superior one will be around the corner here very shortly. And so I agree with you in the fact that you're on Netflix. There's no theater requirement. This wasn't put in the theaters. You didn't have to, subjugate yourself to putting out the PG-13 version when clearly the R-rated version is going to be better. But you brought people in to watch this movie. You got invested in these trailers that are fantastic for this film, and you expect me to go back and watch it again, but as an R-rated cut. This is where I draw a line a little bit when it comes to these extended cuts or whatever. When you look at Justice League to Zack Snyder's Justice League, there's a reason why you watch it. It's a completely different movie. Whereas for me with Rebel Moon, yes, there'll be more added qualities. Yes, the relationship between Sophia Patel and Ed Screen's character will be there more promptly in the story. Yes, it'll be more bloodier. Yes, all that nonsense, and sure. But I've already seen the skeleton of this story. I know how it starts and I know how it ends. You're not going to convince me to watch it for a second time when in reality the story will still begin and end the same way. When I know at the middle of it is still going to be the same.
I am raising my hand to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
So my counter argument to the argument that you just made,
Mm-hmm.
I have a perfect example of a film,
Uh-huh.
and I don't think you're going to be really happy with it,
Uh-huh.
but I think you can see the point of it.
Okay.
Batman versus
I,
Superman.
I knew you were going to. I knew you were going to shove this in my face. Go on, Jacob. Use it.
As he was talking, I'm sure he thought, "Oh fuck, I'm in here. I'm just gonna continue powering through." But he, my friend, is a hypocrite. Batman versus Superman in the Ultimate Cut. Yeah, sure. There's some added stuff, some blood. Oh no, some cursing. Maybe a little bit extra. But guess what? The entire skeleton is there, so what's the point? What's the neededness of it, really? And
Well,
yet, hold on. Let's make a point here and say that Zachary very much did watch Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Cut, the day it released,
I
even
did.
though he knew the skeleton of the movie. I'm sorry, I'm
Here's
using
the okay,
skeleton here.
fine. Here's the difference.
Yeah,
I'm invested in those characters.
that's fair. That's all. That's all I need. That's a great difference. I mean, that's fair.
That's I was invested in Henry Cavill's Superman. I was invested in Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah.
I could give two shits what's going to happen to Sophia Patella on that screen.
Yeah, I'm
I
more
just
interested in the action, seeing what the plus is there.
that to me is where it's not enough for me to go back and watch it again. Unless you tell me that it's worth watching the R-rated version, I'm not going to watch it
It's gonna
because
be
I'm
a
not.
movie commentary.
Well, shit. Well, I guess I am going to watch it. Man, you're just really just knocking on everything I say in this segment, huh?
Yeah,
This movie
just
gets a 4 out of 10.
that's fair. That is a fair rating. I'm gonna go with my 6. I think it's fair. 4 is also fair. I've seen every end of the spectrum for this film, and I think everything I've heard is fair.
I think what's more aggravating about this movie is the potentiality of it. When you look at it, the potential is there, and they wasted it with the first cut of the film. That should have been the other one. That's what we should have watched. It should not have been this one. This is clearly the not superior version of this movie. But why does Zack Snyder continuously let these people push him to that point of not putting out his version of the film? I think it's ridiculous at this point. Netflix wanted him. He wasn't asked to come over. They wanted him to come over. And this is what they did to him. He got the shit end of the stick again. It's just
Yeah,
it's
but I remember when he talked about it, he said one of the most intriguing things when he made Rebel Moon was the fact that he got to make both parts.
but why would he want to? Like
I guess
where's
to test himself as a filmmaker.
it's not testing him though. He just edited out things from his other cut and said this is PG-13 now. That's not testing your directing limits. That's just making
Yeah.
sure everybody can watch it. Like that doesn't sophisticate or facilitate both films. Because it's going to happen with part two. I guarantee you we're going to get a PG-13 version of part two and a more director-friendly version of part two. And then we're like, sure,
I'm just gonna wait
cool.
for the more Breadway version.
Exactly my point. There's no point in watching it. And they're also like dubbing this animated series. Is there going to be a kid-friendly version of the animated show where
I
it's
don't
all
think so.
lights and flowers and robots galore?
Okay,
And
we're
then,
moving
and then
forward.
yeah,
Some of the AI stuff here, or not
was
AI,
really
like
the robot
AI, bad AI, but like robot stuff here was really
was
cool. The
Anthony
ideas and
Hopkins'
stuff here.
character was my favorite character in the whole movie. Barely there, but I really enjoyed him. He literally ran
We
off the movie.
we are going to skip one of the final things that we were going to talk here just because we are running a little bit out of time. I do want to talk about 2024, send it more than the other. I just want to very quickly give my little taste about Poor Things real fast, just because a lot of people are hiding their, like, I mean, the reviews are being hidden for movies for people who didn't like it and things. It's very interesting choices that they're making. Basically, it's just a PSA warning for anybody out there. If you are uncomfortable with a lot, I would recommend looking up the trigger warnings for this movie, but also I would recommend looking up the rating and why it's rated R. This is a movie I haven't walked out of many movies that one did push the line for me, the boundary that should be set for films, especially involving children. And I don't mind if children die in movies. I know it's really bad to say, but that doesn't really affect me. And I think it's important for the story, and it's not gratuitous and X, Y, and Z. I think it can be done right. Sex around children, I do have a problem with, and that is a very big part. It's a segment here, and I do think the line is crossed. I think it can make a lot of people uncomfortable to the point of walking out. Other things I could think make people uncomfortable. This should be NC-17. I normally don't say that about movies very often either, and so I think it's just important for me to say that. The performances are fucking phenomenal, and there's some really interesting things to say here, but I can't really talk about it without spoilers, and I'm not willing to spoil a movie that only, like, I don't know, like 3 million people have probably seen. You know what I mean? It's a very
Mm-hmm.
small section of people who've got to see this yet because it's not really playing anywhere. I got lucky enough to be able to see it. It's beautiful though. It's like if you're going, you're gonna be having, it's gonna be very well shot if you like artsy films, and the VFX and stuff is absolutely gorgeous. But do look it up because I know it's spreading a little bit further, and maybe your theater got it. Did you know that our hometown theater got this?
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not joking.
Blanchester got this movie?
I wasn't gonna say what the town was, but yeah,
I don't care. That's
I care.
insane. Our
Yeah.
town got that movie?
Yeah.
Of all towns?
Yeah.
That's not the town to put that movie in.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know. They signed off on it though. So either way, because I know it's gonna be hitting digital and stuff. I just want people to have a PSA out there. Look it up before you watch. All right, let's talk about.
I'm glad that's getting a digital release. I still haven't heard anything about my monster movie.
I just looked it up, by the way, to see if I could find anything. And the only thing I have is that in the UK, possibly in July, it could be going to Disney Plus for Star. And that's it.
It'll probably be on Hulu.
Okay, so changing up the 2024 excitement a little bit, we can still talk about what we're excited for 2024. But to end it out, I figured we could play a little game called Approve or Disapprove Quarterly Edition.
Quarterly edition?
Quarterly Edition.
What the hell does that mean? Explain, Jake.
I will explain. Well, we have a lot to explain because people might not even know what this is. And you know what? That's the fun of Approve or Disapprove. So Approve or Disapprove, if you guys don't know, is a little game that we started way back when. Like, it's a hot minute ago, where we would look at the. Normally, this originally was a weekly podcast at one point. We uploaded it twice a week at one point. So, like, we had time to talk, like, at the beginning of the month and the end of the month about the movies that are coming out for that month. Well, we can't really do that anymore. The way the podcast works, it just logically doesn't make sense. And so we have phased out Approve or Disapprove because of that, throwing it in fun here or there every once in a while. I figured a good way to do this is a quarterly way where we cover the next 3 months. So we'll cover, because we're in February, so we'll cover February, March, and April. And we'll play a little game of Approve or Disapprove for the next 3 months of movies. And that way we have a kind of you have a kind of an idea. And then when we come back for April's podcast, when we sit down to film that, we'll do a May and we'll go 3 months more, and then 3 months more. And by that point, all the movies should be on the list. And so we are hitting all the movies that are coming out. That way we can still do it. But it's, 3 months from now, we'll just sit down and do it again.
So we're doing it for February, March, and April, correct?
February, March, and April, because January's kind of done. It's not important.
It's done. We're 6 days past January.
I know it's dead. We also won't approve or disapprove. We'll do it right now, Zachary. Are you approving or I'm not doing anything because I saw it. Approving or disapproving Argyle?
I don't know.
Oh, there is the meh.
Yeah, I mean, like I want to be excited. It's really knocked the wind out of my sails today. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Can't really talk about it. To be fair though, if you do end up seeing it, I would be really curious. Honestly, I'd say you should wait and we should get Apple TV for a weekend and do a movie commentary to it when it eventually does come out.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna wait. I think it'll be more fun if we wait.
Just because I would love to see what your reaction is face to face. Oh my god, the ice skate scene, that's all I'll say. See, it put me on such a high because of how absurd it became that, like, I kind of recommend it. And most of Twitter was like, people are fucking idiots. Argyle's great. So maybe you will like it. I don't know. My opinion is on Argyle, before I saw it, approve. After I saw it, meh. And I'll explain next month what that means. All right. Before we get started, Zachary, before we get started on this beautiful little segment of ours, I'm really excited to do. Anything else are you excited for 2024 overall?
2023 was absolutely insane. Like the content overload in games, TV, shows, and everything in between, everything happened last year for me that I've been really excited about. This I'm calling the year of calm. Not a lot's happening this year. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Like, big releases this year, not that big of a deal. I know of 2 really significantly huge films coming out in my spectrum of content. And I'm excited for both of them. One more than the other, but I'm still excited for both. However, like they're being very quiet about what's going on streaming this year. Obviously, we know we're getting House of the Dragon in the summer. Very excited for House of the Dragon. X-Men '97 here or there. Excited, kind of. We're getting the Spider-Man show in sometime this year. Kind of there, here, there. Um, but TV wise, like nothing really sticking out for me this year. I have to wait and see what we're really getting into. Um, but I'm actually just looking forward, to catching that casual film that you and I are going to watch together through commentaries. Catching up on some films that I missed last year. I think this is a really good year to do it. I'm mainly just waiting to see how Marvel and DC are going to do this year when it comes to film. Those are my two biggest movies for the year, and I'm just curious to see how they're both going to turn out. And we get our first DCU project this year, which is really exciting. We get Creature Commandos this year, which is our first real taste of the James Gunn era of DC. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. But our most anticipated thing for entertainment is Deadpool 3. Like that's anything, games, TV, movie, whatever. Deadpool 3 is my most anticipated thing for the year. So yeah, that's 2024 for me in a nutshell. What about you?
2024 actually has quite a few things that are coming out that I'm super duper anticipating. Ironically, the movie Zachary mentioned earlier with Mika Moore, Longlegs, I'm really looking forward to. There's quite a few horror films that look quite striking for me. I
Oh, and
don't
the
know.
boys.
I'm excited for The Boys. There's plenty of television shows. Nothing stands out. Obviously, I'm excited for Deadpool 3, but I want to see something for that, which we might be seeing this weekend, which is very exciting.
How
And
crazy is that to say?
it's ready. It's not crazy. I'm just ready. I'm just prepared.
I don't think you're
Yeah.
prepared.
So yeah, I mean, to be fair, I saw one of my most anticipated movies already. I saw two of them in January and in February. So, I'm excited for more to come. We'll talk about them here. But I don't have anything huge to say. I don't have like any big broad statements. Movies that I think could make a billion this year that are like on a higher chance. I'm gonna say there's a good possibility that Deadpool 3 could make a billion, depending if they hit the tone correctly and the people don't get pissed off. Those are two very big things. We'll see. And then I would also say that Wicked Part 1, when it comes out in December, has a big chance of being a huge, huge, huge government.
As long as it's done correctly.
And I also am going to put it out there for animation. The only animation movie, and there's a lot of good animation movies that are probably going to be coming out this year that I'm really excited for. But the only one I think will do financially like significantly well is Inside Out 2. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I've never seen the first one.
I would say would do a movie commentary to it, but I hate that movie with such a strong passion that I don't want to watch it. So you can pick it, but
I just never had the interest in watching it. I know what it's about, and I'm like, no, I'm good. That's too much. I'm good.
It's a lot. It is a fucking lot. All right, guys. If you guys don't know what approve disprove is, Zachary's going to quickly explain while I set some stuff up.
All right, so approve or disapprove is Jacob's going to bring up a lovely screen on our side, and we're going to talk about the films coming out in February, March, and April. We're going to approve, disapprove, or met them, basically stating how we're feeling about these films going into them for these next 3 months. So, with that being said, Jacob, take it away.
And by the way, for people out there, the symbols for approve or disapprove are met in case you want to play down in the comments. Approve is a thumbs up. A disapprove is a thumbs down. A met, I don't have an emoji for you, but it's the sideways thumb. If you can find one.
Just do this.
Yeah, the meth face is also perfectly fine if you want to play in the comments down below and or want to tell us you can interact with us through the podcast. I can't remember exactly how, but there are ways to do it. All right, moving forward, let's continue onwards. On February 9th, this coming up weekend, as we're filming this podcast, I have no idea when you see this podcast, but either way, Lisa Frankenstein hits theaters. It's the big theatrical release for Super Bowl Sunday. Zachary, how do you feel? What are we feeling? Approve or disapprove for Lisa Frankenstein?
I am approving Lisa Frankenstein. I'm excited for this for one reason and one reason only, and that's Zelda Williams.
Ooh, really?
I'm so excited to see her vision of film because we haven't heard anything from her, obviously, with everything since her dad passed forever ago, and I'm excited to see another Williams back in Hollywood and see how they can and how she can put her mark on the landscape of film. And I'm really excited to see what she does with it. So that's why I'm most excited for this movie. Is the movie looks really good. I finally watched the trailer for it. I think it looks really, really good. But I'm mainly excited to see Zelda Williams come in and do something interesting. So that's for me.
I'm also giving it a good thumbs up for approval. I thought the trailer was quite stunning. I have a trailer reaction for it on the channel, but also now knowing, I love Diablo Cody. I'm a big fan of her writing, but knowing she's the person who made Jennifer's Body, if you did not know, that's the person who's
Such a good
behind
movie.
the writing of this. It's set in the same universe as Jennifer's Body,
Shut up.
which was announced this past weekend. I'm assuming to get more people to possibly go see it. My only thing that I'm like not super happy about is the fact that Cole Sprouse is in here. He is my least favorite Sprouse twin, but I do have a feeling, it's just the truth. I do have a feeling because I did see a Sprouse twin movie last month that if I
That
did
was
go
really
see
bad.
this, that was really, really bad, that this would be better. So he has that going for him. Doesn't have a lot going for him anymore. To be honest with you, let me know if there's anything in this list that stands out to you. I'm not going to read. We don't read off every movie just because there's so many movies that come out over the course of a period of time. So if there's
Mhm.
anything in here like, oh, I know that movie. What's your thought? Ignore the random Pixar movies. They're releasing them in theaters, so they pop up on the list.
No, 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 no. I'm not going to ignore that. That
Oh,
gets a thumbs up. I really, I will stand by that. Turning
okay.
Red's a fantastic movie, and I'm really happy it's going into theaters because it deserves to be that have its time in theaters.
I've
I
never
really
seen it.
do. It's so good. It's genuinely one of Pixar's better movies. And I also want to give kudos to Pixar for fixing their mistake and letting Soul, Luca, and Turning Red all three have their time in theaters. Soul just did it back in
Yeah,
January. February was Luca, and now February
March.
is Turning Red, and March is Luca.
Yeah.
So if you've never seen any of these movies, this is the way to go watch them. All three of them are fantastic, but definitely go see Turning Red. It's the best of the three, in my opinion.
Just want to quickly shout out Pippa Cinema Party. You can go see that in theaters this coming up weekend. It is an hour and 6 minutes, but your child will like it. Just want to point that one out because I was shooketh when I read it on my list of movies I got approved for my theater. What did they have to kick out for? Is the question. No one knows. All
Hour
right.
and 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's like an hour and like 6 minutes. It's ridiculous. It has one showtime at like 10 a.m. I don't know. It's a thing. Either way, for Valentine's Day, the day of love, we have a movie that has nothing to do with love, and that's called Madam Love. Girl power. I guess Galentine, I'm assuming it's the reason why they released it for Madam Love. I am approving this shit so high up in the sky. I understand why Zachary disapproves. I get it, but it's annoying, and we're going to move forward. He can have his right,
Thank you.
even if it's wrong. Okay,
That's all.
but also, like, if the story really isn't what I think it is, oh, this is gonna be a bad movie. I'm really hoping to be
It's
surprised.
not going to be what you want it to be, Jacob. I'm telling you.
Please, I'm just hoping it's like just really close to its chest. And that's just all we got. All right, moving on to Bob Marley, One Love. I'm also going to approve this. It makes me cry every time I see the trailer. So, yep, it's an approval for
Do you
me.
realize how long this movie's been in development?
So fucking
It's
long.
crazy.
I don't see anything on the 16th. That looks like a Tuesday release. Oh, Final Fantasy
February
has a
21st. This is a big deal. This is actually for you. Actually, if you want to go watch this, if Victoria gets it, this is a pseudo sequel to Final Fantasy VII. This takes place during the events of Seven. If you've never seen it before, it's one of the most beautifully made films ever, and it's one of the best animated movies ever. It's really, 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 really good.
All right, jump down here to February 23rd, the last weekend of February. We have Dry Away Dolls, which I am approving 110%. I'm so excited for this movie.
I don't know what that is, but
So this is Ethan Cohen. Is that right? Is that
oh,
the one where two
yep,
lesbians steal a case?
yep.
Pedro
It's a
Pascal's
Cohen.
in it.
It's a Cohen movie that
Yeah,
automatically gets my thumbs.
they both wrote it, but only one of them directed it,
Directed it, yeah.
which is fine.
They've been doing that a lot lately, where they both write, but only one directs the film.
Oddly enough, it's only like an hour and 26 minutes,
Oh yeah,
which makes it hard for me to want to go see it in theaters, only because of the runtime and because how expensive tickets are nowadays.
I agree. I would go watch this movie in theaters simply for the writing.
Yeah, no, I have a feeling I'm going to absolutely love it. I'm not really worried about that, but I'm trying to figure out where the level is. Another one that a lot of people are going to also talk about is Ordinary Angels. This is a Christian-based film that has to do with Hilary Swank and Alec Richardson. I'm going to approve it because I also thought the trailer looked pretty
The
good,
trailer looked
but
really good.
I have a feeling it could do really well in theaters. So I did
Oh,
want to shout it out because I think it has a chance to be big. Another one that has a chance to be big that I have no idea is Demon Slayer, Kinsuno no Yabe to the Harsha training, whatever that means. I don't know. I don't watch Demon
I think
Slayer.
it's gonna do bomb numbers in theaters. I think it's gonna do fantastic.
But I have a feeling it's going to be pretty big. Also, not on here because we do talk about every type of movie. On Angel Network, they are releasing Chosen in theaters every 2 weeks. There's a new part that comes out. They are expected to do quite well, and they'll probably be popping up in the top 10 quite a bit. They're not going to be on here, though, because they're Fathom events. But yeah, just to give that a shout out for anybody who might not know. It could be at your theater. That's something.
What's Chosen?
That's the TV show about Jesus.
Oh.
I mean, he killed in ecstasy definitely caught my attention. Is this like a horror weekend? Like, what is going on?
Clearly. Crypt of Evil, Death walks behind you, and he killed in ecstasy. That sounds like a 3-part story, doesn't it?
It kind of does. I'm confused. Okay, we're moving on. I don't know. Sometimes this happens.
And then on February 26th is the vengeance and reincarnation of Dracula.
And then on February 27th, it's Camp Pleasant Lake. What the fuck is going on?
And
then
then February 28th is the seduction of Dracula.
I'm gonna have to Google that. I don't know. Okay, let's move on to Dune. I know what Dune is, so we can talk about Dune. March 1st brings the bucket.
Dude, can we stop for a second and talk about this, please? Movie theaters. What's up with these weird ass popcorn containers? Because you've got the Sandworm one. Did you see the Ghostbusters one?
No, what's the Ghostbusters one?
It's Slimer holding the bucket in front of him perfectly where you would put your and it's translucent so you can see as you
I'll pull them out when we do the Marvels, when we're going to eventually do a movie commentary to the Marvels. And I have the popcorn tin that came with the Marvels that lights up. I also have the cup. So, like, I mean, we do buy the shit that comes, and I'm half tempted.
But that's not weird.
I'm half tempted to buy that. No, I mean the popcorn tin is a little weird.
It glows. That's not weird. It's weird putting your hand. It's weird.
I don't know. Either way, Zachary, on that note, we both approved Doom Part 2. This is a 2-hour and 46-minute movie
and
that I'm hoping
fucking wait.
that I'm hoping is mostly action. Because here's the thing. I have a strong feeling Dune Part 2 is going to open big, but I don't have a feeling it's going to have long-lasting power.
800 million.
And I'm just curious because I heard some rumors they made some changes to the source material, which is fine. The ending of Dune, which is what they're doing here, it's very controversial. It's a very interesting choice. And I heard it's even worse here. Like they upped it, which is I don't know how you could do that, but they decided they could. And so I feel like people are going to either love this movie or absolutely hate this movie. Will I see it? Yes, every person that I fucking love is in a film. Of course, I will go see it.
This is like called Jacob the Film Part 2.
True is. I'm getting to see Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, 4 and 2, Rebecca Ferguson in the same exact movie.
And then for me, it's Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler.
They're all good, but like Florence Pugh, I'll be there. Even though I'm sure she is a Chaney. I'm so much sure that she is a Zendaya in this story. I just know for a fact she is a Zendaya in this story.
I doubt it.
No, she talked about it. She's like, I was told this is an extremely small role. Please don't be mad. I just want you. And she's like, I just want to work with you. It could be 2 lines on the page. I don't care. I'll be there.
That's how good Denis Villeneuve is.
All right, moving down to March 8th. We have Love Lies Bleeding, which is a fucking approve. And Zachary, you don't know what this movie is, but I promise you, you're going to approve it.
Wait, is this the Kirsten Kristen Stewart movie where she plays like the jacked up breast, the
Katie
buffed up.
O'Brien plays the jacked up wrestler. But yes, this is that movie.
Ah,
I
yeah.
heard it was unrelentless. It obviously premiered for Sundance. It's getting released in theaters. I'm so excited. I will be there. I will be there so quickly. And I heard it's unrelentless and shocking. And I'm just so excited. It's gonna push so many batteries. All right, Kung Fu Panda 4. I'm on the meh side of things. I can understand why Zachary might be on the disapproval side of things.
Kung Fu
Please.
Pandas 1, 2, and 3 are truly some of my favorite animation of all time. Why butcher it with what looks to be a mediocre movie at best, relying too much on children jokes? What I loved about the first three movies is that it found that blend between adult and child humor. DreamWorks has always done brilliant at that. When you look at this movie, you're like, man, what's happened? This makes me so nervous for Shrek 5 now. Ah,
Um, okay, side note for Shrek movies. One, we are going to be rewatching them, so I'll let you know if my point changes. But those movies are particularly filled with like kid jokes.
but it's the blend. They
It,
find the
they're
medium.
okay. The first Shrek does
You
not have the blend.
yes it
There
does.
is no medium.
Yes,
I
there
don't
is.
agree with that whatsoever. 110%. Kung Fu Panda, I do agree with. Shrek,
Puss
I
in
don't
Puss
agree
in
with.
Boots is an adult, child-friendly
Yes.
movie,
I'm not talking about Puss in
but
Boots. I'm
this looks
talking about.
too kid-friendly. I wish there was more stuff for the adults.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Kung Fu Panda, so I don't really have like a. I mean, that's why I'm mad on it. I don't think I'll see it unless River really wants to see something. We need to take her a week away for whatever reason, and we might see it. I don't know. Imaginary. This is gonna get a meh for me. Every time I see the trailer, I'm more invested. But
Have you not seen the new one they put out?
no, I haven't seen
Oh
it.
my god. So, as anybody knows, John Krasinski directed this movie, right?
No, this is
So
not. Oh no, this is not If.
yes, oh no,
No.
oh, this is the Bear movie? Oh,
This,
hell no.
this is the horror one, not the
Hell
funny
no.
one.
I thought this was If. My bad. No.
No.
What a
So
turnaround.
yeah, this is the bear one. Parts of it looks good. I'm curious. I will see it, but I don't have high hope. Moving on to March 15th, we have the American Style of Magical Negroes, which I'm gonna give a meh. Part of it looks good, part of it doesn't
It
look
looks,
good.
it's all over the place.
We have Arthur the King, which Zachary probably doesn't. That's a dog movie with Mark Wahlberg, about an army vet, who gets a dog, and it's a
So
bonding.
it's like every other army vet movie who gets a dog and it
Yeah,
creates a
essentially,
relationship.
it's gonna be exactly what you want, probably if you want it. I don't know if I
And it's
do
going to
though.
make you cry if that's your kind of person.
Or if you're, oh my God, Peter Dinklage, what is wrong? Are you
It's going off the poster.
okay? He doesn't look okay, right? I'm not the only one.
No, he doesn't.
Does that say
Also,
Al
Jacob,
Pacino?
do you see the year next to American Dreamer?
Ooh, these got pushed.
Clearly.
These are the leftovers. The shitty seconds, one would say. Shitty thirds, really. Al Pacino, Michael Keaton, James Marsden, Marsha Gay Hart. What the? Okay, some movies must just be bad. And then you have Peter Dinklage, who looks like he's literally dying. Like if
Yeah.
I saw a picture of death, that would be it. All right, March 22nd. Oh, we have Ghostbusters: The Frozen Empire.
Oh, I want to approve this so badly. I think the
I
trailers have
am
been so good, but I'm going meh. I'm going
good.
meh. I'm so nervous. This cast is just too big.
The first one was just a breakout for
And
me, so I'm
no,
gonna.
I love Afterlife. I love Afterlife so much, but that movie was contained with a small cast and had not, and it was a contained story. We're going back to New York. We're bringing everybody back, and it looks awesome, but it's just too many people. I don't
We will
know.
see.
I want to be excited for this. I really, 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 really do. But I'm just too nervous. It's going to be overbloated. Sony's done this before with me, where they get me with a really good startup, and then their sequel is just all over the place, and they have fantastic trailers that just don't stop. What am I sounding like, Jake?
I don't know.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Well, I mean, I'm the oddball in this situation. It wasn't good.
For
No,
me, the scenario is that the trailers for Amazing Spider-Man 2 were fantastic. I was really excited after Amazing Spider-Man 1. I was ready to watch that movie, and what happened? Overbloated, too much things going on, and the movie fell apart.
it's kind of good. It was kind of good. Not on the rewatch, but like it would be blessed for many years in my brain. You fucking
Really?
asshole. Yeah, I said that to Zachary because he's the one who's like, oh, we're gonna rewatch that one because he knew what he was
You
doing.
realize?
So Zachary, how do you feel about Immaculate? Disapprove. Anything about the anything that has to do with this type of story? Yeah,
It's a
I'm
Jacob
there.
movie.
It's a Jacob movie. Also,
It's
Sydney
also
Sweeney.
it's also Sydney Weenie.
Yeah, you know. Oh, hey, look, Winnie the Pooh 2, Blood and Honey.
We do get to talk about it. We haven't, but neither of us seen anything for it yet.
Yeah, I'm still going to be on the disapproval side of things. This is where I said, no.
The
No,
designs, the designs, they look so much better. Just off of Tigger, they look more impressive.
we got to move on.
Jacob, we're gonna watch it. You know we're gonna watch it.
Yeah, it's an April movie for sure, but you hurt me.
I want to get together and go see that in the theater together.
We might do that. Then it won't be an April movie, and I don't have to have a headache twice.
See?
Right. All right, March 29th, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire.
Fair.
Rebecca Hall's hair is so bad that
It was so bad.
It's taken down this movie with it.
But who can say no to Baby Kong? You're insane.
I will have to say I've enjoyed almost every entry in this franchise except for the first one, so I'll be there.
Go back and watch Godzilla. It was really good.
My favorite part is when he takes a nap. I don't think I'm gonna like it. That's all I got. I got not another church movie. Okay. Yeah, no, that definitely sounds.
That feels like a throwback.
Oh, it's spoof. Yeah, we don't get spoof movies very often anymore.
With Lamar Morris, Mickey Rourke, Jamie Foxx, and Vivica A. Fox.
Yeah, like interesting. Oh, April 5th, Monkey Man. Thank you guys for watching the trailer. It was a standout hit. Also, looks very cool in theaters. I will mention, because I did look up what Monkey Man was rated R for, I have a strong feeling this is going to be extremely hard to watch. So do know that when you go see it. But I will see it.
Also, Jacob, earlier, I didn't want to say this to you because you were just excited that the trailer was doing well. You called it monkeypox.
Oh, I did call it Monkey Paw. It was cute, though. It's okay. I rebranded it. People weren't mad. I didn't get a dislike. Don't go dislike it. All right, moving on. Oh, you know, it's interesting that we're getting a movie called Dog Man. We're also getting another movie called Dog Man eventually about a dog and a man who had to do a hybrid and become a police officer. That's a kid's film.
Well, that's an April movie right there.
No, it's not. I can't do it. I won't do it. Please don't make me do it.
You gave me ideas.
We have The First Omen. Zachary, this sounds right up your alley, right? Honestly, the trailer is just so fucking intriguing. In the first poster of the baby inside, oh my god, I was there. I'm there. I'll go see it. This looks much better than what they tried to do last year. We won't talk about the name, but it was trash. It was The Exorcist Believer. I'm sorry, I had to talk about the name. M. Night Shyamalan, are we approving, disapproving a project we don't know with no... Exactly. All right. Civil War. Oh my god, yes, this is such an approve for me. Bit nervous for what it might do to society, but I'm approving. I will see it. My only thing that's kind of like making me think no one's gonna go see it is the fact that no one sees Alex Garland movies in theaters. So I feel like we'll have
But that's why I'm nervous about it, because I did not like his last movie.
Oh, Men. I didn't care for Men either. But Debs was so good, and everything else before it was so good. And some of the elements of Men I liked, but not the...
Or intriguing, but it just... I don't know. But the main reason I want to watch it, though, that name right there. Yep, I haven't seen anything from her in such a long time. So if she has interest in the movie, clearly there's something there.
I saw the trailer for this in front of Argyle, which was the
Hmm.
first time I saw it in theaters, and I got cold chills. It was so good.
Really? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I have a strong feeling it's gonna be like one of the best of the year. We'll see
Dude, it
though.
was so early.
Yeah, I know. Well, and that's what happens. I mean, my favorite movie came out in March until Barbie beat it in May, and that's still May. That's a lot of months for movies not to live up to standards. So, all right, we have April 19th, which is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. I know I hated saying it in the trailer. No, actually, I'm gonna give this a meh. I feel like it's too much of a ripoff, but also like it looks kind of fun. And I like the people in it, so I'll probably see it anyways. And Guy Ritchie's a mixed bag, but
I'm also approving the next one.
yeah. So I'm on the mess side for Sasquatch Sunset, just because
This movie sounds absolutely insane.
I don't really know if I want to see someone take a shit. I'm not sure if I'm there. I'll let you
IGN,
know.
IGN gave this movie a 10 out of 10. They called it a masterpiece. And I'm like, IGN never really gives those 10s out very often to film. So I'm like, that's got me intrigued. And then the trailer was like, now I'm really intrigued.
I haven't watched the trailer yet. I'll let you guys. I'll probably react to that. But my big thing, I just don't know if I could do the whole shit thing. You know, it might be too far. It might be too far. I can give no lines, lots of grunting. I could be there for that. People in Sasquatch costumes, I could be there for that too. The shitting, I don't know. I think it might be too separate. I think there's lines, and then maybe that's a line I won't cross. I don't know. All right, moving on. Abigail. That's an approval for me. Yeah, I mean, this is Musa Bear's next project.
So
Um,
it's a double approve.
with a radio silence on the board, like a Ready or Not, with Cat and Newton, Dan Stevens, and Gennaro Esposito. I mean,
Do we need to see
vampires.
anything else? Kevin
No,
Diane.
I don't know who he is. So I didn't want to shout him out. Sorry, dude. Get better with your career. Spy X Family could be a surprise hit just because of the fact that it's another anime that's quite popular, so it could be a surprise hit in theaters. And then we have the last weekend of April, the last month we will follow, and that is Challengers, Zendaya's big Oscar pick for the year. And yeah, that's an approval from me.
Here's my thing. It was going to be an approve. It was going to be. However, they moved it to here. And
Yeah,
not like they didn't move like a month or anything. They moved it all the way to April.
yeah, because of the SAG strike and stuff.
Well, that I know, but they could have easily moved it to like February if they wanted to or something. But they pushed it pretty far from when it was supposed to come out.
Mhm.
And SAG strike aside, I understand that, but movies also got pushed from 2023 and 2024, and it's not because of the SAG strike. It's because they don't know what to do with it, and so that makes me kind of meh. It's a good trailer, but the trailer I don't think is enough for this one anymore.
Now, Zachary, I have a question. Was your
Uh,
favorite part when her knee popped out, please?
hey Jacob, what's next?
Boy Kills World. This is also improved for me. This is Alexander Skarsgård's new movie. I don't really know anything
You
about it
mean
except
Bill Skarsgård?
that's Billy Skarsgård. Yeah.
But you said Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh shit. Well, I just saw his brother. You know, they all look the same.
Hey, I was just making sure you
No,
understood which
you right. You
Skarsgård you're
right.
talking.
It's Billy. I got wrong. Sorry. It's in a movie. If you're wondering, Pennywise the clown is here. He's going to be doing more murdering, not of children this time, but of adults. Which I guess he kind of did too, but he also like deflated like a balloon, I don't know. What a mixed bag. Either way, it's an approval for me. I have a feeling it's gonna be a like Monkey Man. I
I
think
don't
like
know
it's
what
gonna
it is.
be. I'll show you images later. You'll be impressed. I promise. It was very big on. It's another one that got pushed to this year. It was supposed to come out last year on the festival circuit, but they thought it was going to do so well that they pushed it. And that, my friend,
Oh, cool. So I'll keep my meh.
is approve or disapprove.
The quarterly edition.
The quarterly edition.
Approve or disapprove. Quarterly.
Okay. Um, Maybe I'll make it into a soundbite. I don't know. It takes a lot of work. All right, that being said, we normally do what we've been watching, but we don't do it on this podcast. It's on podcast number 2. That being said, Zachary, do you have an outro for us?
As always, like, rate, subscribe, hit that comment section, ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling button. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what you thought about today's episode, Weekend Movie Bros, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye, y'all.
No.